Wayne County Courthouse in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Wayne Goldsboro Television brings you the meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. The meeting begins shortly with an agenda briefing, then the regular meeting will begin soon after. Please stand by for the Wayne County Board of Commissioners meeting.
Call our pre-agenda meeting to order. We'll go through our agenda and see if there's any adjustments we want to make. The invocation this morning is going to be provided by Commissioner Ed Grimardi. Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Joe Gurley. The approval of the minutes, we'll need a motion on the approval of the minutes for March 1st. Any adjustments to our agenda?
I'd like to make one. I'd like y'all to add under unfinished business to approve the terms of the CMAR contract, subject to the county attorney and I reviewing the actual document. But we finished negotiating that this week.
Great.
And I think it was Monday.
And that was what now?
The construction manager at risk
Okay.
contract. And I'll go over the details with you on that.
And you want that motion's approval subject to the...
Subject to the attorney and the manager approving the specific language in the contract.
All right, who would like to make that motion?
I'll be glad to.
Okay, so Bill will make the motion. Okay, any other adjustments? One other adjustment, and that is after some discussions, we are going to schedule a work session based upon our meeting to this morning. I'd like to try to get through our business and go right on into the work session. But we need to move item 4 under new business, which is the motion to approve the adjustment on the medical insurance plan. There's several commissioners that have got questions. We've asked the representative from Mark III.
Right, and he'll be here about 11:30.
About 11:30. Well, okay, well, we'll get through a lot of our discussion before he gets here. That maybe it'll be a little early. But needless to say, we do want to move that to a work session. Other than that, is there any other adjustments that we can think of on the agenda?
I think that's it.
Okay. Moving on then, under consent agenda, we have got applications for the property tax exclusion, application for present use value, and both of these have met the threshold over the requirements.
Right.
On both of those. Item 3 under consent agenda is the resolution adopting the 5th Amendment to the position classification and pay plan for Wayne County.
And on this, we're
It's under
supposed
page
to,
62 of it.
right, we're supposed to make any changes to this by resolution. When we did the ones before, we had not included these 4. It's a nutritionist 3, and you have, I believe, a memo in here from David that explains that for the public health education supervisor as well. And waste, solid waste, but I don't think I remember correctly. So that's just a new title there. But David is wanting these. Medical.
Understanding a lot of declassification.
That's right.
To going into the next budget cycle.
That's correct.
And the first one, I think, is going to be DSS in regards to some analysis.
Yeah,
Most
ate
of
up, well, and remember they cut into what we're gonna do next year. So get everything next year on DSS, but certainly that's an issue for us.
Okay. Any questions or anything in regards to item 3?
I think David does a good job of explaining, we're having turnover here, and if we don't take these salaries up, we're gonna lose these folks.
Yeah. Item 4 is the purchasing contract of 2 ambulances from Select Custom Apparatus.
Tony, you wanna go over?
Mr. Burns, you want to give us some information on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At your previous meeting, you approved for us to offer a piggyback contract on the purchase of 2 additional ambulance units. We ran the required ad for during the 10-day period, and we're here today to ask for your approval to purchase those 2 units from Select Custom Apparatus. And the piggybacking statute allows you to award based on a previously awarded contract as long as it's been let within the last 12 months. And in this case, the Select Custom Apparatus contract was actually let within the past 60 days. So that's before you today for consideration, and Ms. Woods and myself be glad to answer any questions you may have on that.
Any commissioner have any questions? I did have one. Is this currently in our budget for these purchases? Is it budgeted, or are we going to have to put a budget amendment?
Put a budget amendment forward for this.
So we are going to have a budget amendment on that. All right, so,
And these 2 are to kind of ramp up for the additional net transports that we're picking up at a pretty rapid clip.
I think you probably could also add to it that to approve the appropriate budget amendment. I know that's what we've done in the past.
Right.
If you wanted to do it that way.
right,
Yeah,
so
that's what
we're
I
just going to add on item 4 then to also include budget. All right, and then item 5 is the appointment of Brandon Gray to fill the vacancy on Eastern Wayne Sanitary District Board.
And that's a request. You've got a letter from Mr. Jack Edwards, who's the attorney for the board, and they're asking that Mr. Gray be appointed to fill a term, and so he's filling that vacancy. He's served on it previously, and they would like to have him back on the board to fill that vacancy. And this is the normal process.
They had a board member that passed away is the reason he's being appointed, is to fill out the rest of that term.
All right, and then item 6 is to proclaim April the 5th of 2016 as Wayne County Recognition Day for National Service. That's item 71, and that is the resolution there.
Right.
So by approval of the consent agenda, we are approving that resolution. And then under budget amendments, pages 72 through 79.
Okay. I have one for the health department, a total of $9,120 to reallocate funds awarded by the Division of Public Health. For Wayne Net, $2767.51. This is to anticipate appropriated insurance reimbursement. The sheriff's office, $675 to anticipate donation money received. For the sheriff's office, $4025.53 to appropriate insurance funds. For fleet management, $20,000 to reallocate funds for tires.
Let me stop on that. I did have a question on that. This is actually just taking creating a separate line item.
That's correct. We originally we just had auto parts in one line item called vehicle parts. I want to separate the tires out so we can track that. That's all this is.
So we're not adding anything to the
No,
budget?
there's no
have
added
an
money. It's
additional
just
line.
breaking that out more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. For the sheriff's office, $16,937.50 monies for refund receipt. And the final 2 for central services actually go together. This is to adjust our indirect cost line items to the actual amounts per our indirect cost plan provided by third party.
Okay, any questions on any of the budget amendments? Okay, that is all under our consent agenda. Let me go back up. I did skip over appointment committee. Do we have some appointments?
24.
24 appointments?
No. Just make sure you're paying attention. Sure.
Y'all were busy this morning in a 5-minute meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I wanted to back up to one, to see if I understood Mr. Wood correctly. When we were talking about the pay classification, did I hear you right that we might be able to do part of possibly DSS?
Well, I don't know yet until we get into it. When we did, if you recall, we put a pool in of $300,000. And with the sheriff, EMS, and the jail, that was a considerable number of people. And so we were able to cover them for a little less than 300,000 this year, but that's because they didn't go into effect until March 1. So starting next year, we've got to fund them for a full year. So when you annualize it, they're already up to about 585,000. So if we just put in another 300, we're not gonna have much money for reclasses next year. I'm gonna try to put in more than that, is what I'm saying, but I can't give you a firm number yet, because we haven't done the budget yet.
Okay, I just want to reiterate, everyone here knows the situation we have
Oh,
with
yeah.
DSS. So
Oh, yeah.
let's, see what we can do to help that situation. Thank you.
Go
One
back,
thing-
Mr. Chairman of the Appointment Committee, do we in fact have?
We have 4.
Oh, we have 4, okay, thank you very
And,
much.
Mr. Chairman, I overlooked one thing. We do need to amend the budget on one thing. I'd like to make a special presentation. I was gonna do it under my comments, but I think it'd be more appropriate to do it here. And it's for our finance director.
All right, so,
And I believe,
that will be under unfinished business or new
I
business?
think just special recognitions,
Oh,
where do we
special
wanna?
recognition. We're gonna add that in then, just before the.
Public comments, probably.
Yep, okay.
And I believe there's one other that Mr. Aycock wants to make.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving to new business. First item is a motion to proclaim We Dig It Ag Day in Wayne County. And we will have Director Kevin Johnson here to have some comments and to present the resolution, is that correct?
That's correct.
You will also have the owners here who have the second graders at their farm. They're going to have a few comments too.
Okay. And who is going to make a motion on that to approve the resolution? I take it that Kevin is gonna read that?
He can, or
I'll-
one of
I'll
you
make-
can, however you
I'll
want to do
make a
it.
motion on it.
Okay, so Commissioner Aycock.
I sent it to Kevin if you would like for Kevin to read it.
Okay. Item 2 is a motion to proclaim Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Wayne County. And,
Vic Miller's supposed to be here, and he would be reading it, but he does not make it. I'll be glad to read it,
so Vic Miller should be here and,
and I'll make the motion on it.
okay, you're gonna make the motion. All right, item 3 is a motion to proclaim April 2016 as Donate Life Month. And Dr. Sandra Coley will be here and she will be reading the proclamation. And we'll need somebody to make the motion to approve that resolution.
Mr. Bell said he would.
Mr. Bell or Mr. Gurley?
John Bell.
John Bell. Okay, Commissioner Bell. And we moved item 4 to a work session.
Right.
And then item 5 is the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners March video update. County managers' comments, then the Board of Commissioners, committee reports and comments. Do we have a closed session today?
Yes.
We have a closed session. And we are going to recess that meeting, and we are going to be having a commissioner's lunch in Seven Springs with the Seven Springs Town Board.
And we're meeting them at what, noon? So what time do we need to leave?
11:30.
You need to leave here at 11:30.
So Mark III gonna be riding
Well,
with us evidently.
well, that's what he was gonna do. I suggested that he do that, and then we'll come back and hold the work session.
All right. But even if we complete some of our work, we will go into the work session to get some discussion on the matter.
That's right.
Prior to our recessing at 11:30.
Right.
All right, and are we going down with the van?
We can. You got it set up? Okay.
All right, do I have a motion that we go into closed session?
So moved.
All right, we got a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of,
discussing matters with me to serve attorney-client privilege.
all right, heard the motion. All those in favor of going to closed session, raise your right hand. So we're in closed session. I'm sorry, that was Commissioner Aycock.
I did.
Call our meeting to order of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. And we're going to have the invocation this morning from Commissioner Cromartie and the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Joe Gurley.
Please bow your heads. Almighty God, we come this morning thanking you first for waking us this morning and presenting us with yet another perfect earth to enjoy. We thank you for all our blessings, collectively and individually. We recognize that as a nation of people, we have more in common than we sometimes exhibit. Dear Heavenly Father, we have our church, our families, our friends, and we appreciate our protectors. This morning we ask for a special amount of wisdom so we can conduct the business of Wayne County in a very transparent, upfront, and honest manner. All these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on the approval of the minutes, I think you all have gone through the minutes of March the 1st. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Unanimously as approved. Discussion on adjustments of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we have three. The first is we want to add special recognitions right after this discussion, and that'll be for two of them. Mr. Aycock will handle the first one, and I'll handle the second one. After that, under unfinished business, I'd like y'all to add a provision for you to approve the terms and conditions of the construction manager at risk contract. I finished those negotiations Monday evening, and what I'd like you to do is approve that subject to the county attorney and I reviewing the specific language once we draft the contract up. And then the third thing is, I believe we wanted to pull number 4 under new business out from under new business and treat that as a totally separate work session at the end of the meeting. I believe is when we wanted to do that.
Okay. Okay, any other adjustments? All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's one other thing, Borden corrected me. On the ambulances, where it has number 4, purchasing contract for 2 ambulances, we also wanted to add that you'd also be approving the appropriate budget amendment with that.
Right, okay. All right, if there's no other adjustments to the agenda, we're going to go to special recognition. Commissioner Aycock, I believe you have a presentation for us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I had an operation on my heart.
Well, I had who I was going to recognize on my mind. I want to recognize our clerk to the board, Miss Marsha Wilson. She has just been, she's one of 7 to receive the Master County Clerk designation. This is the highest certification that a county clerk can achieve. And Marsha's one to never toot her own horn, but I just want to thank her for this accomplishment. And I think it speaks highly of Wayne County to have one of 7 in the whole. That includes, I understand, county clerks and city clerks. Okay, county designation, but thank you, Marcia, and I just appreciate you and appreciate what you do for Wayne County.
Okay, Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd also like to recognize another employee who's reached a milestone, and that's Allison Spate. And before I ask Allison to come up, let me explain what she's done. She is now a North Carolina Local Government Finance Officer certified. And what that entails is she's completed all 6 core courses at the University of North Carolina School of Government, and that's a total of 160 hours of continuing education credits there. She's successfully passed the 4 required examinations covering the following areas of material in the core courses: governmental accounting, financial planning and budgeting, cash management and investments, and financial management. She's also a member of the North Carolina Government Finance Officers Association, and in order to get this, she had to have at least 2 years of experience in North Carolina governmental finance and at least 2 additional years of responsible financial management experience. And as y'all know, prior to being the finance director, she was a longtime assistant finance director here for the county. So with that being said, Allison, if you'll come up, I'd like to present you with...
Can we come on down?
Yeah,
so
come on
that,
down.
Excuse me.
Let me read this certification while the board's coming down. It says, North Carolina Government Finance Officers Association. This is to certify that Allison Spate has demonstrated to the Finance Officers Certification Committee professional experience and knowledge in the area of local government finance, and therefore has qualified for the period January 1, 2016 to December 31, 2020 as a certified local government finance officer. And then it's signed by the officers of the association. Allison, congratulations.
Thank you.
And how many hours was that? 160 hours?
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna get Marcia in here to take a picture, and George, will you take the picture of Marcia? She's always on the other side taking pictures.
You put George on the spot, yes.
Oh, thank you.
We need to get somebody IT off.
Yes, you do.
Steve, the help out. He's head of IT right now.
That's right. That might be scary.
Yeah, I get her.
You got it. Thank you, Marcia. Okay, we're gonna go on over to the appointment committee. Mr. Gurley, we have some appointments.
We do. First, like to recommend the reappointment of Andy Balance and J.W. Sherrill to the Fremont Board of Adjustment. I'd like for this form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Next,
It's
I'd like to
approved by a unanimous vote.
Next, we'd like to recommend the reappointment of Gerald Balance, Stephen Hooks, and Stephen Evans to the Fremont Planning Board. I'd like to put this in form of a motion.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that passes unanimously.
Next, I'd like to recommend the reappointment of James Holden to the Pikeville Planning Board. I'd like to put this in form of a motion.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously.
And our last one, we'd like to recommend the reappointment of Brent Hood and Chris Cox to the Planning Board. I'd like to put this in form of a motion.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously.
And that concludes.
Okay, that concludes the appointments. All right, moving on to unfinished business. Under unfinished business, we are looking for handling of a motion on the construction manager at risk. Mr. Wood.
Yes, we've completed these negotiations, and the terms are, we're going to pay them a combined fee of 9.5%. I say a combined fee because in some of these, some people split out the pre-construction fee, a construction fee, and then general conditions. So some people have 3 separate fees. What we agreed to on the front end is we just combine those. And that's how the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill does it. And I think that's a better way to do it. So it would be 9.5%. There would also be a 1.0% CMAR contingency fee if that becomes necessary. We may put in a contingency in ours, but that would be for the owner, but that's not necessary in this part right here. So if they were to use all of the contingency fee, it would be 10.5%, and that would be of the adjusted actual price when we true up. We'll use the bid price to start with as they get all of their, and if you call, they have to get all of their bids in for all the subcontractors. When you add all of that up, that's what this would be tied to, is 9.5% of those total contracts. There'll be $500 a day liquidated damages. The schedule of payments would be based on the percentage of work completed, just as if they were a general contractor. There'll also be a 5% retainage, and then at 50%, we'll drop that to 2.5%. The women and minority business enterprise goal we're setting for that for the subs would be to have at least 10% of those, and that's the same goal that the state of North Carolina uses. And the GMP, which is the guaranteed maximum price, would be established on the back end once we get the bids in on that. The other thing that I have put in here is, as y'all know, we were very impressed with the people that they had assigned to this job, in particular the superintendent. And I told them I wanted written assurance that that team would be the one we deal with. And so that'll be in the contract as well. Let's see. I believe that's the key things. One element, and this is not something we have to decide right now, is we're trying to decide whether we'll have one builder's risk policy, or they would provide a builder's risk policy, and then we would provide builder's risk for the 5 or 6 contractors that we're going to use outside of this contract, like audio visual and things like that. I think we would prefer, our insurance broker would prefer that we provide it and they reimburse us for their portion of it. We've given them the quote that he gave me, and they'll be getting back with me hopefully this week, early part of next week, on what their decision is on that. So with that, I think we've got everything in place. And again, I'd recommend that you approve these terms and conditions and enter into a contract with them, subject to the county attorney and I reviewing the final contract. And we'll be having our architect take the notes I have and fill that into the standard AIA contract for a CMAR project.
Okay, you've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion?
I'm gonna make the motion, just about, I do need to ask a question. Do we need a budget amendment to go along with this, or are we gonna use the existing dollars we've already set aside?
No, we're good with this.
I just want to be sure.
I think at this point, we have set aside up to $4 million.
Yeah, I thought that would cut.
So I think we're okay, but I'll check with Allison, but I think we're okay.
Okay, then I will make the motion that we accept the recommendation to enter into a contract with the CMAR, subject to the attorney and the manager approving the language in the contract. And that is the motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Only comment I would make on that is that it is interesting to realize, even though we have not had this agreement worked out, they have already started working. They've been working for, what, 5 or 6 weeks?
Yeah, they've been working with us since you made the selection. We're meeting with the architect's team every 2 weeks.
Right,
And they've been to at least 3 of those, I believe it is.
great. All right, any more discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. That's a unanimous vote, so that's approved. All right, we're gonna go now into our public comment. Any individual that is signed up, actually, we have a Mr. Tom Drew that is signed up. And so, with that in mind, we are now in the public comment section. Mr. Drew.
All right, first thing on the agenda, public comment. And as the rules and regulations are changing, before I know it, I feel like Mort back on Orc. I won't be allowed to be funny, if I've ever been. But it ain't no funny business when you say I can't use a sign, and last meeting, I addressed it. Thus far, I've heard no rhyme or reason for not using a sign, and I welcome the Board of Commissioners to write on the backside of a matter I gave their reason for affirming the decision to restrict that during public comment. And as far as I know, I've got no reply to that. So it's a rule, out of rule with the state law that has to have a reason. You can be reasonable restrictions. There's been no reason. And also, I checked with y'all last week about Senate Bill 313, which is now a sessions law of some sort, ratified back in October. Still this morning, some people here from agriculture, seem like everybody's clueless. There'll be another major industry going back by Wayne County and say bye-bye. Nice try or no try. Construction on track, last paper or so, front page as far as the jail. I'd halt the construction just in time because it's just getting off the ground. Something I did the last time they built the last jail. It's called multi-purpose. Will it be good for anything else should we not need it for the stated purpose? And in the construction business, just like this room here, it's used so many minutes or maybe a few hours a week. Make a fine classroom the rest of the week. That's like the Wayne County school construction industry. We got a 10-to-1 infrastructure to instructor ratio. Classrooms sitting empty day after day. Maybe not all day, but a third, 2/3 of the day. You don't build another factory till you at least have a second shift. As it appears, this public comment is replacing being on the agenda, because several years back I saw with the county attorney some matters in a reply or lack of reply to my request to be on the agenda and kind of point to public comment, which you hope to be on the agenda. You might have more than 4 or 5 minutes if needed. And prior to the evolution of this board back in about 2000, I do remember as a meeting in Pikeville High School, which I raised the issue then. What should have been the first business of a new board, the very first board this county ever had, a couple hundred years ago, is to establish policies for being on the agenda. And to this date, the best I understand, there are no policies to even secure the ability to be on the agenda, appropriate delivery, receipt, review, response, and such. You can request, well, I want to replace Senator No. If everybody remember that fellow? With Senator No. I got one vote back in 2002 to be this senator.
You're violating our agreement that there would not be any signs. And
No, I
appreciate
said
that
both
you
on
not
that.
use a sign. Thank you.
Well, also I've presented you a question, what constitutes a sign? Is this a sign? Is this a sign? And no reply, no reply.
Thank you for your comments. Being that was the only individual that has signed up for public comments, we are now going to move over to consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have applications for property tax exclusion, applications for present use value, and those items, Mr. Wood, have in fact been screened. And
That's right. The tax administrator recommends you approve those.
okay. Resolution for adopting the position classification, amendment to the position classification and pay plan.
And we went over those 4 items with you. There are 3 positions in the health department and 1 in solid waste.
Okay, and also the item 4 being the purchase contract for 2 ambulances from Select Custom Apparatus, which will include the appropriate budget amendment.
Right, Tommy, you want to address that?
And the appointment of Brandon Gray to fill the vacancy on the Eastern Wayne Sanitary District Board, which is their recommendation. Proclaiming April the 5th as the Wayne County Recognition Day for National Service. And the budget amendments that we, of course, went over during our pre-agenda meeting. So I would need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda. All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Aycock to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on that motion? Being none, if all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That is unanimously approved. Under new business, we've got the motion to proclaim We Dig It Ag Day in Wayne County. I believe we've got Cooperative Extension Director Kevin Johnson come and speak to us today with his words of wisdom.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to come address y'all this morning. 2 things we want to recognize today. One is National Agriculture Day, and the other is our We Dig It Day. And I have a proclamation that I'd like to read to y'all. Whereas agriculture provides almost everything we eat, use, and wear on a daily basis, but too few people understand this contribution. And whereas the Agriculture Council of America believes every American should understand how food and fiber products are produced, appreciate the role agriculture plays in providing safe, abundant, and affordable products, value the essential role of agriculture in maintaining a strong economy, acknowledge and consider career opportunities in the agriculture, food, and fiber industry. Whereas agriculture is the #1 industry in Wayne County, generating over $1 billion for our local economy. And whereas Wayne County is the 4th largest agriculture farm county in North Carolina, is the 3rd largest wheat producing county in North Carolina, the 3rd largest turkey producing county in North Carolina, home of Mount Olive Pickle Company, the 2nd largest pickle company in the United States, home of Goldsboro Milling Company, the parent company of Butterball Turkey, the largest producer of turkey products in the United States. Whereas the Wayne County Young Farmers and Ranchers through Farm Bureau are sponsoring the We Dig It Ag Day at Odom Farm on March the 24th, 2016 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. to try and bridge the gap between daily life and the farm and to educate 2nd graders in the Wayne County Public Schools about how much agriculture affects their lives from the time they wake up in the morning to the time they go to bed at night. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim March the 24th, 2016 as We Dig It Ag Day in Wayne County, and urge all citizens to pay special tribute to the members of our community who contribute to agriculture and the agribusiness of Wayne County. This 16th day of March 2016, Joe Daughtery, Chairman, Wayne County Board of Commissioners. And, I'm sorry.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, that we proclaim March 24th, 2016 as We Dig It Day in Wayne County, and I'd also like to thank the Oglers for being here today.
Thank you very much, and
Now
I
put
was
that in front of the
gonna,
motion.
I was gonna see if they'd come up and just share a few words about the day, and we appreciate everything the county's done.
All right, if you give us just a moment to vote on this
Oh,
motion,
sorry.
then we're gonna hear from the Oglers. We've got a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's unanimously approved, and now we're gonna hear from the Odoms. Good morning.
All right.
I'm on the hot seat. All of y'all know, I think I'm J.R. Odom. This is my family. We're looking forward to March 24th. We hope to have a good day. We're getting everything, the final prep, everything ready to go for Ag Day. And it's going to be a really good day like it has been in the past, we hope. We've got the good weather ordered anyway. I don't know if we'll get it or not. We're trying.
We're hoping no rain.
And I think y'all kind of understand what we've done in the past. We've got the FFA students throughout the county. They're going to do the presentations to the kids. And so it'll be a learning experience for both. And we wanted to try to highlight all of our different commodities that are raised in Wayne County. And try to get every organization that's involved in Wayne County agriculture all to the table, all there that day. And it's going to be a great day. Did I leave anything out that you wanted to say?
We have a group from Goldsboro High School going to be there as well, the health occupations class, so they're going to help. That way we have all the schools represented. And it's going to be from, like Kevin said, from 8 to 3. You guys come out. Hopefully we'll have great weather, like Mayor said, and it'll be a good day for everybody. So.
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes.
I just want to say I appreciate what you guys do out there, and if anybody hasn't been, you need to go out there and watch these kids go around and see a pig, a goat, and the different crops that are being raised, because a lot of these kids have never seen anything like that, and it's just a lot of fun, and I appreciate what you're doing.
And, you know, I didn't say it, but we do appreciate y'all's support. Y'all financially help this day go on. And we want to thank y'all and commend y'all for helping us out and making this a valued part of y'all's day every year to come out and participate with us. Right.
Well, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on item 2, under new business, we have a motion to proclaim a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Wayne County. And we're going to hear from Mr. Vic Miller on that.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen in the seat. North Carolina, obviously we all, as I mentioned in the last meeting, we're going to observe Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day on March 30th. Wayne County, North Carolina, Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. Whereas March 30th, 2016 represents the 43rd anniversary of the end of the American involvement in the Vietnam conflict. And whereas 2016 marks the 51st anniversary of the start of the ground campaign in Vietnam when President Lyndon Johnson authorized the landing of the 9th Marine Expeditionary Brigade to defend the Da Nang Air Base in South Vietnam. And whereas thousands of brave Americans served our country in this conflict with courage, honor, and valor. Whereas more than 58,000 individuals made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam and more than 300,000 more were wounded in combat. And whereas 1,626 Americans are still missing and unaccounted for from the Vietnam conflict, and their families, friends, and fellow veterans still endure uncertainty concerning their fate. And whereas in 1982, the Vietnam War Memorial was dedicated to commemorate those members of the United States Armed Forces who died and were missing in action in Vietnam. And whereas the Vietnam War was an issue among the American people of the United States, so that the crossfire of the public debate and the involvement of the United States in the Vietnam War deprived many members of the United States Armed Forces who served bravely and faithfully for the United States during the Vietnam War of the support and appreciation for their service to our country. And whereas the United States Senate officially designated March 30th as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day and encouraged the people of the United States to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities that promote awareness to the contributions of veterans who served in the United States Armed Forces in Vietnam and the importance of helping such veterans readjust to civilian life. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim March 30th, 2016 as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Wayne County, and urges all citizens to join in this special observation and to take the opportunity to honor and thank our Vietnam veterans for all they have given in service of our country. Adopted this 16th day of March, 2016. Joe Daugherty, Chairman, Wayne County Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make the motion that the Board of Commissioners proclaim March 30, 2016 as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Wayne County.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Just one comment.
Okay,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Acon.
Vic says, more than 300,000 more were wounded in combat. That figure is probably greater than that because we have Vietnam veterans that are still suffering today. It's just, it's sad to see some of them, the things that they went through, and it took years for it to hit them. But that figure is probably greater than 300,000 if you consider the ones that is really having problems today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good point. Any other comments or discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. That motion passes unanimously. And thank you so much, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, item 3, the motion to proclaim April 2016 as Donate Life Month in Wayne County. And I believe we're going to hear from Dr. Sandra Cole.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Cole.
Thank you for allowing me to come back this year. This is the second year that I have appeared before the Wayne County Board of Commissioners to ask if we could have April proclaimed as Donate Life Month here in Wayne County. Just a very, very brief, very, very brief. I was honored to have a son who was so gracious that when he took the driver's education program at Goldsboro High School, he wanted to be an organ donor. And he actually, at the age of 17, convinced his mama that that was a good thing to do. Little did I know, some 7 years later, 7 months after graduating from North Carolina State University with a degree in engineering, debt-free, that I would have to sign the consent forms so that my son could pass on the gift of life to others. My son Demetrius died in a drowning accident, but he left life to 3 people, and he enhanced the lives of over 40 people in the state of North Carolina. So even in his death, I was so proud of him. And if I could, please allow me to read the proclamation before the board. North Carolina, Wayne County, Donate Life Month. Whereas, according to the United Network of Organ Sharing, which is UNOS, more than 1,121,000 people are waiting for organ transplants nationally, and 3,000 of those people are in North Carolina. And whereas an average of 21 people transplants die each day. Whereas an average of 21 people awaiting transplants die each day because there is a severe shortage of organ donors. And whereas every 10 minutes, another name is added to the national transplant waiting list, and the list is growing faster than the rate of organ donation. And whereas providing facts and dispelling myths are key to making an informed decision about becoming a donor and increasing the number of people who sign up as donors. And whereas the North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles play a critical role with 4.8 million North Carolinians in the state's donor registry, having registered when they received their North Carolina driver's license, making it the 6th largest registry in the country. And whereas one organ donor can save the lives of up to 8 people and improve more than 50 lives through tissue, blood, bone, marrow, and cornea donation. And whereas North Carolinians are encouraged to get the facts about donation and discuss their wishes with their families and physicians, sign up as a donor via the North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles by putting a heart on their driver's license or entering online at donatelifenc.org. And whereas Vidant Medical Center, Transplant Center, is a leader in providing life-saving transplants with patients cared for by a team of experts, including surgeons, nurse coordinators, social workers, infectious disease specialists, nutritionalists, and pathologists. And whereas Carolina Donor Services is the federally designated organ procurement organization with an office located in Durham, serving 7.2 million people in 77 counties of North Carolina and Danville, Virginia, and serving over 100 hospitals and 4 transplant centers that perform heart, lung, liver, kidney, pancreas, and intestines transplants to maximize the passing of the heroic gift of life from one human being to another through organ and tissue donation. And whereas the County of Wayne joins healthcare professionals, volunteers, educators, government agencies, faith-based and community groups, and private organizations in an effort to boost the number of organ, tissue, blood, bone marrow, cornea, and stem cell donors throughout North Carolina. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 2016 as Donate Life Month in Wayne County and commends this observance to our citizens. Adopted this the 16th day of March 2016, Joe Daughtry, Chairman, Wayne County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Bell.
I would like to put a motion on the floor that we approve the proclamation as stated by Dr. Right, okay. Designating April as Donate Life Month in Wayne County.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'd like to say one word. Dr. Kohler, thank you so much. I've had family members that had an extended life because of organ donations, and have a family member now that will be on the waiting list someday. And I just want to thank you for your involvement, and thank all of the people that are signed up as organ donors. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion or comments? There none, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Dr. Kohler.
Thank you, and I have pens for each of you.
Oh, okay. All right, we moved item 4 to a work session, then we've got the North Carolina County Commissioners Association video.
Hello and welcome to the County Update video for March 2016. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners produces this video each month to keep county officials informed about association activities. Let's begin this month with a look at the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference held in Washington, D.C. February 19th through 24th. A number of North Carolina county officials attended the conference along with NCACC staff. The NCACC held its annual congressional breakfast during the event to give North Carolina county officials an opportunity to hear from their federal legislative delegation at the conference. 3 commissioners announced their intentions to run for NCACC second vice president at the North Carolina caucus meeting. Kevin Austin of Yadkin County, Ronnie Smith of Martin County, and Jonathan Barfield of New Hanover County will compete for the position, which will be voted on at the NCACC annual conference in Forsyth County this August. NCACC staff gave a briefing at the North Carolina City County Managers Association Winter Seminar in February. Executive Director Kevin Leonard led off the session that included a legislative update, a briefing on County Management Fellowship Program, and a research update. The NCACC also assembled a panel of veteran political observers for another session at the Winter Seminar, which included former Speaker of the House Harold Brubaker, among others. The panel gave attendees a great deal of their insight working with legislators, including the idea that building relationships with your legislators begins at home. For more, please visit our website. Several workshops entitled Leadership for Veteran Elected Officials Leading Change were held during the month of February, with more to come in March. The Health and Human Services Steering Committee and Strategic Plan Task Force held their meetings in February, and the next round of steering committee meetings is just around the corner, with the first of those to be held in late March. NCACC Risk Management is currently holding its regional meetings across the state. Attendees hear about current issues and trends, as well as program updates and renewal processes. If you would like to know more about NCACC Risk Management services, please visit ncacc.org/riskmanagement. Don't forget that district meetings are coming up in April. Be sure to visit the NCACC website and sign up for the meeting closest to you. Also, County Assembly Day will be held in Wake County in May, and you can visit our website to get more information on that event. Well, that's all we have for this month. Thank you for watching and for allowing us to keep you updated on your association's activities. If you'd like more information on anything we discussed here, please visit ncacc.org or contact us directly using the information on your screen. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next month.
And Mr. Wood, on that now, we do have upcoming meetings, I think, in April.
Right, we've signed up for the district meeting, and I forgot where it's at.
Wallace. Wallace.
That's right. Okay.
So, and you've sent that information out, so make sure that all of us put that on our calendar.
Right.
Because that generally is a good day for us to go and meet our area of other commissioners. With that in mind now, we are, I'm going to go over to county managers' comments.
Okay. I just have a few. Of course, we're working on the budget and CIP now. I had a meeting with all of the staff department heads this week and went over the budget manual with them, and so they're moving forward with that. They've already turned in their capital request. On the 911 center, I wanted to let you know that contract's been completed. Borden and I are reviewing it. We don't anticipate any issues with that. So that study is underway. If you remember, they were going to study 5 options and then get that back to you, and then we'll make a decision from there as to going forward.
And they have begun that study?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, because that was included in that contract. We closed this morning on the $2,502,000 of savings on the school debt. Tommy just informed me he got a text from Tom Lee, the attorney on that, and so all of that has been done, and the funds have been received. Wanted to let you know, dealing with the street assessment issue, that we do have the list of engineering firms now, and I've also sent a letter to the DOT that we had discussed, where we wanted written assurance that if we move forward with our own engineer to do that, that they would in fact take those streets over. So that letter went out, I believe it was Monday, so we're waiting to hear back from the division on that. And with that, that's all I've got, Mr. Chairman. We're just spending most of our time now moving forward on the budget.
On the letter that we sent out to the state on that, would you follow that up with maybe a personal phone call?
Sure.
To Tim Little to kind of discuss that somewhat, so maybe we can expedite that, because we need that letter before we can hire the engineer.
That's right.
So hopefully you can follow that up with a letter. Is any questions or comments with the county manager? All right, we're going to go now into any comments from the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Bell.
Well, I was busy doing this last 2 weeks, so I didn't get a chance to attend any of my committee meetings. But I was thinking, since I'm the only re-elected person up here, that should put me in charge in November. So you guys didn't get re-elected, you know. So, but anyway, I don't have anything to report other than the fact that I was successful at the polls. Thank you.
That you were successful at the polls?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Aycock.
Yes, just a couple of things. Tomorrow afternoon at 5:30, the City of Goldsboro is rededicating the F-86 fighter jet that was once down at the Fire Police Complex, and it's on the north end of Center Street now. They are having, in fact, today, tomorrow, and Friday, they've got a large delegation of city officials from all over the state here. But tomorrow at 5:30, they're going to rededicate the F-86, and going to have a four-ship flyover from Seymour Johnson. And if you've never seen one of those flyovers, it's quite impressive. It's the sound of freedom. And they've invited everyone that can to participate in that tomorrow. Also, on March 31st, I'd like to invite everyone that can out at the Wayne Regional Fairgrounds, the Wayne County Junior Livestock Show and Sale. This really gives you an appreciation of what young people are doing in Wayne County with their livestock, their cattle, their hogs, their goats, and like for everyone to support that program. They raise a lot of money for the youth to attend school after they graduate from high school. Also, everyone has to eat sometime during the day, so I'm inviting everyone to come out to the Nahana Fire Department Saturday from 4 to 7 to help support the fire department. We're having barbecue chicken, barbecue pork. You can get either pork plates, chicken plates, or combination plates, and just appreciate everyone in the county's support. That's all I have, sir.
Was that a paid advertisement?
If it is, I'll pay for it.
Okay. Commissioner Mayo.
Yeah, I have just actually one that stands out. This past weekend, we had the Friends of Seymour Gala out at Walnut Creek Country Club, and what a great turnout. The support of the citizens of Wayne County, especially the Friends of Seymour, is just unbelievable. That place was packed with people that give to the nonprofit Friends of Seymour, which works in conjunction with the MAC committee here in Wayne County to protect our base. So I'm so pleased to be a part of that, the impact that this base has on our community. If you don't know, as a citizen, please make an effort to find out, because it is huge, the impact this base has on our county. So we had a really good time, had a great speaker, a lot of fun and laughter and good food. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Kamara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committees that I meet with, I reported on them last time there at the end of the month. So I'll be attending the Department of Social Service meeting and Gateway, as well as our library meeting. It's coming up all after this particular meeting. But I would like to report that I attended, after our last meeting, I had an occasion to be at the University of Mount Olive 3 different times over a 2-day period. But the first one that I had an opportunity to attend was the groundbreaking for the lacrosse track field. And yes, it's a $2 million investment. Mount Olive is in the process of raising money. I think they may probably raise about 1.67 million of that money. And the groundbreaking started the day after, the work started the day after the groundbreaking. I passed the other day and there was a big pile of dirt here and another scoop moved there. So they're on the way. And as I think about it, the things that's being done with soccer in relationship to the city, and then we have a track and field and lacrosse opportunity going on in the South, that is going to positively affect tourism and the tax base and everybody coming to spend some money in Wayne County. So, and it uppens the cultural aspect of our county. So I just want to give a shout out to University of Mount Olive, as well as the efforts being made with the military, Goldsboro City, and all that we're getting ready to do and participating up here. So that's pretty much mine. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Gurley.
Congratulations, Commissioner Bell, on your win yesterday in the primary. I look forward to working with you next few months and upcoming years. And the vote count yesterday, to me, demonstrated vote of confidence people have in your district. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Is that all your comments?
That's it, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Payton.
Just a couple of things. We're still meeting, as George said earlier, with the architect every 2 weeks and with the construction manager of risk. We're really putting together some of the finer details of what's going on inside the convention center, and that process is going very well. And I believe his projected dates were a little bit further out than what I want, but
Yeah.
we'll get him moved in the right direction. He's only about a month off from what we want to do. But and as already been said, Saturday night we had the banquet at Walnut Creek for the Friends of Seymour, and Chuck Allen, I tell you, bless his heart, he giving Colonel Slocum a hard time about the flyover because they said he couldn't do it, and then he said, "Well, maybe we can do 2." He said, "Look, dude, you got 90 planes out there." So they agreed to do that, and the general who spoke says you just need to pray for good weather, and that's the only thing. And Thursday, if you can be out there, let's get out there and support them. And I certainly plan to. And also, I want to congratulate Commissioner Bell on his victory at the poll. Good work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I got a few comments. One thing I would ask that the clerk do, and that is do make a note in the minutes that our speaker at our public comment period did in fact violate a rule that we have in place in regards to no signs. If that continues, that he breaks those rules, we're going to remove him from allowed to be speaking. Those rules are there for a reason. The other thing that I would like us to do, and that is that in our comment period here in disclosure, that we do list all of our rules so that everybody's aware or reminded that there no signs would be allowed, and there are sign-up requirements. I feel like that the last 5 weeks now has been a real journey for me. I am amazed at my recovery. I do want to give a shout out to Wayne Memorial Hospital and our doctors here in Wayne County, because they just really did a fantastic job. I probably owe my life to these folks because they were able to discover that I did have some severe blockage. Fortunately, did not have a heart attack to let everybody else know that I had a blockage. I appreciate this board in helping me over the last few weeks fulfill some of our duties, and especially my vice chair has just really stepped up to the plate, and I really appreciate that. Hopefully, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be back 100%. I'm about 80% there now, and I'm just real joyous for that, and thank the Lord for it. Are there any other comments anyone has?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
One thing that, sometimes you don't have these things written down. It takes someone to spur what, in your comments about the doctors and I want to give a special thank you to the van, the watch van. I had to get it right. I was just cruising through Mount Olive yesterday, look over in the parking lot, and there's the watch van sitting there. And I just want to thank everyone for the efforts that were made through carefully observing, plus the decision, the opportunity to put the watch van back out into the community. And as I understand the newspaper, they're out there at least 3 days a week, but there's a good sign when you're riding through a municipality that's a little bit south, and it would just be important if it was north, but that is an integral part of what serves a basic portion of the community, the watch van itself. And so that was a basic item that my predecessor worked hard on, and that's, I feel like, is the foundation and the base of the watch program is that van. So I just wanted to let you know that I observed it. She said they was real busy. It just so happened that I was passing it right at lunch, and she was standing, the nurse was standing outside, I think maybe having her sandwich or talking on the phone or something, and I looked over and spotted her, and I remembered that at some point she may be due to deliver a child of her own, and I could see from a distance that must be the lady. So I pulled over and talked to her for a few minutes, and very refreshing conversation, and just wanted to report that to you all.
Okay. We are going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we're going to come back and start on our work session to discuss item 4, which is a motion to approve the adjustment on the medical insurance plan. So we're going to go into recess. All right, we're back in session. And this work session that we're going to have today is going to be some discussions on the adjustment of the medical insurance plan for fiscal year 2016 and 17. And if I can just make a comment or so here, and that is the reason why we need to resolve this is because going forward of producing the budget, we've got to know what the premium needs to be as we establish the budget for each one of our departments. That being said, Mr. Wood, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I think what would be helpful is, we've got a number of handouts for you, because what I was getting from the chairman was there was a number of questions y'all wanted to go over. And so what I wanted to do, if I could, is let me just go over some background information with you first, so that everybody's clear what we've got. If you'll pull that sheet, that's the premiums as they exist today. It doesn't have a page on it, Joe, but it's titled Fiscal Year 2016 Medical Insurance Premiums with percentages paid by county and employee. Everybody see that?
Yes. It's one got all the colors.
It's got colors in it. This is a page out of the budget. We always put this in there under the health insurance fund. And I want to just walk you through it because in order to understand, I want you to understand where we're at right now, who pays what on our medical insurance, okay? We have two types of plans. One is the PPO medical plan, and then there's one with an HSA. So the PPO is where most of the employees are. As you can see, there are very few in the HSA. The yellow lines going across gives you the number of participants in that particular category that we have. So let me just go over the PPO one.
Mr., can I interrupt?
Yes.
Sure. To the general public that's listening, instead of just using PPO and HSA and all, would you
Say what they are?
say what they are?
Sure.
I mean, not every time, but
Sure.
just
Okay.
clarify to start with.
All right, well, let me clarify that. The PPO stands for Preferred Provider Organization. And what that means is, as part of your contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield to be our third-party administrator, because we're self-insured, you are in their PPO network. And they get approximately a 40% discount off of the normal rates. So the advantage of being in a PPO network is we save a substantial amount of money over the usual and customary charges. So when we talk about a PPO medical plan, that's what it is, Preferred Provider Organization. And in this case, the one we've selected is Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we're in their network, okay? Then the HSA is a health savings account. And the difference there is that with a health savings account, employees may pay some higher cost, but that's offset by the fact that you give them $750 a year to go into their health savings account. They can then defer money into that health savings account like a 401k, and then, that helps cut down on their cost for medical bills because it's pre-tax. They don't have to pay tax on it. And then the people in the PPO, you don't give them $750, but they can be in what's called a flexible spending account. And again, you can defer up to, I believe it's $2,500 there every year. And again, that's pre-tax. So the advantage is if you were in a 30% tax bracket, you wouldn't have to pay the taxes on that $2,500 income, federal or state. Okay. Now that we've defined all the terms, we have 5 types of coverages. We have an employee only, employee and one child, employee and children, employee and spouse, and full family coverage. The county, if you look at this sheet, if you look under employee only, under the PPO medical plan, you'll see that right now, our premium that we charge ourselves on that is $605 per employee. And notice, these are monthly costs. So the county pays 100% for the employee's coverage, and the employee pays nothing. Is everybody seeing that? Mm-hmm. Okay. On the employee and child, the county continues to pay the $605, which is basically we cover the employee share. Dependent coverage is paid 100% by the employee. So employee and child costs $195.40 more than an employee only. And so the employee pays that, and that works out to 24% and 76% of the premium. Everybody seeing that one? Then employee and more than one child, it goes up to $285.93, and again, the employee pays that. An employee and a spouse, this is usually when the kids are out of the house, so you're no longer covering them. And remember, under the Affordable Care Act, we now cover children up to age 26. And that's a requirement under federal law now. So the employee and spouse goes up to $321.04. So the total premium there is $926. Full family coverage, they would pay $482.65. County still pays the $605, and the total premium is $1,087. So basically, the premiums are the same on the plans, but the makeup of the plans is a little bit different with the HSA. But you'll notice that the bulk of our employees are employee only. There's 513 of those. Employee and child, there's 66. Employee and children, 42. employee and spouse, 46, full family, 51. And then with the HSA, if you add all those up, there's only 26 people in the HSA. Those tend to be younger participants. One thing I failed to tell you, on the HSA, the advantage of that is these health savings accounts, if you don't spend the money in that year, it stays there and it carries over from year to year. Now, the flexible spending accounts that go with the PPO are different. Those, you either use it or lose it. So you have to do a good job of estimating what you think you'll use. And most people, I think, do take the max of 2,500 because just with some prescriptions and things, that's probably, in a few doctor's visits, you're probably going to use it up. So the total of that then is 744 people. Now, we got these from Geraldine last year. At the time we do the budget every year, we have HR give us how everybody's enrolled. And so those were actual numbers, but remember that fluctuates every month because we're adding an employee, you know, one leaves, we hire 2 more or something like that. So it's a monthly thing, but this was a snapshot at probably March to April of last year of where we were on this. Okay. So I wanted you to see that's the size of the premiums that people pay. Again, there are some employers, both public and private, that the employee pays some of the employee's separate coverage. We don't do that. We cover 100% of that. But there are some employers who pay a percentage of dependent coverage. We don't do that. The employees pay all of that. So our system, very simply, is you cover the employee pays for any dependent coverage. Is everybody clear on that? You might want to keep this one set out aside because you're probably going to want to refer back to it. Okay. What we did is, before we get into the details of the separate plans, we ended up getting 3 options from Mark III. The first, and now I'm going by this sheet that we handed out today. It's the long one you got today. There's 2 long ones. This one is titled Health Insurance Renewal Comparison.
Both of them are the same.
Yeah, they're the same.
Oh, they're the same, okay.
One's easier to read.
I can read one, not the other.
Okay.
One actually includes the state plan at the very
Yeah, if you see, you want the one that says state plan at the
Yes,
very last.
yes, yes.
Everybody got that one?
Yeah.
Sorry for the confusion. This is a good snapshot of the various options that we have, okay? Under our current plan, the first column or second column is, these are the key components. This isn't every component, but these are the key components of our plan. Currently, a primary care physician is $30. This is what the employee pays. Or this is what the patient pays, what I should say, because if their dependents are covered, you know, so every time you go to see a physician, you pay $30. Now that doctor's visit may cost $120, but they pay $30. The plan pays the rest of it. Okay. A specialist physician, we're at $60. Our deductible is $1,500 for an individual. It's $3,000 deductible. That's the maximum on a family. Then you have coinsurance. The maximum individual is $1,000. Coinsurance maximum on a family is $2,000. And then the inpatient hospital is 20%. That's because we're an 80-20 plan. Outpatient hospital after deductions, also 80-20. Urgent care, the employee pays $60. Emergency room, they pay $150. Now, let me explain why we have that. You have a lot of abuse of an emergency room if you don't charge a big differential there. Because you have some people who don't have a primary physician, then when they get sick, they run to the emergency room. Well, at the emergency room, this $150 doesn't begin to cover an emergency room. It's about $500. So what we're trying to get them to do is, if it's after hours, go to an urgent care center. And then it only costs you as an employee $60, but it also costs the county plan less. So I wanted y'all to understand the difference between urgent care and emergency room. Okay. Then preventive care test, the plan pays 100% on those. So what we're here to discuss today is we've got options 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to go into more of those details later, but basically, option 1, you'll see down at the bottom, third line from the bottom, it says increase. Option 1 would cost us 5.3%, and that's $359,204. Now, the bulk of that would be paid by the county. I don't have an exact figure, but it's probably 80% of that would be by the county. The only thing that's paid by the employees is their premiums would go, all the premiums would go up 5.3% if you did that, okay? But you look back at that sheet, the bulk of the people is in us paying the $605. So the county would pay the bulk of the money. Everybody following that? Now, when they came to us, our initial meeting with them was if we didn't make any changes to this plan, it was going to be 9.3%. 9.3% is like $629,000, and we just simply don't have that. You can't eat a 9% increase on your medical insurance year in and year out. If you do, you're eating into the money you would typically use for merit increases and these adjustments in these reclassifications of positions and things like that. And to give you an example, the 2% merit increase pool you did last year, remember, was $600,000. So if we didn't change this plan, you're basically eating up that amount of money. And then you've still got to have some money to do merit increases with, and the pool of money, Ray, you were talking about with DSS to reclassify those. You've got to have another pool of money for that. And if you remember, you did $300,000 for that. So our raises and reclassifications last year, the current year we're in, was $900,000. So if you take a hit like this on the medical insurance every year, you basically can't do both. And so what we try to do every year when they come in, they give us the bad news. A lot of that is driven just by the inflationary cost on medical services. But in this particular year, we had over a 30% increase in pharmacy utilization. And I'll show you that on the chart later on. So part of what we're trying to do is deal with the utilization on the pharmacy here. So but on option 1, if you went with it, that would require that we raise the premiums by 5.3%. Option 2, I had asked him initially get it down to at least 4% or somewhere in 4%. Option 2 is 4.3%. And then we asked him, after we looked at all of that and saw what the numbers were, we asked him, what would it take to get to 0? And so that's option 3. So option 3 doesn't cost anything more, and the premiums for the county and the employees do not go up. Option 2 would cost you $291,647, the bulk of which would be paid by the county, and all the premiums, county employee and the county's portion, would go up by 4.3%. Option 1, again, would be the 5.3. So those are the 3 options we're looking at.
Can I
Yeah.
stop there to clarify that a little bit? Please watch that when you're comparing option 2 and 3 as an example, there was an increase of $5 on the primary care physician. There was a $10 increase on the specialist physician. Right. There was a $250 increase on the deductible. There was a $500 increase on the family max. The co-insurance on maximum actually went down to $3,500, and the co-insurance maximum on individual actually went down.
That's right.
But additionally, do note that on the pharmacy, that pretty much on the deductible stayed the same. There was a $5 increase on the, went to from $55 to $60 on the name brand drug, and went from 65 to 75 on a
Well,
what do we call
the
that?
category, we actually have 4 categories. The first one, the $10 is generic.
Right,
The second one is what he calls preferred brand,
okay.
and we get a discount on those. And then the next one is non-preferred, and the last one, which is the most expensive, is specialty drugs. And I think typically those are the latest and greatest thing where, you know, it's a new patent and they charge you an exorbitant amount of money on that.
But what I want to get across here is there was just a small, very minute increase of $5 here and $10 there in regards to out-of-pocket.
Right.
The other thing, before I move on, please compare the deductibles across these other counties. And you're seeing, as an example, where ours is $3,500 on a co-insurance maximum family. In Harnett County, it's $12,700, $9,000 in Johnson, $6,500 in Lenoir, $4,000 in Pitts, $8,800 in Wake, $9,000 in Wilson. So ours is still dramatically lower on maximum out-of-pocket. So we were really trying to look at a way to minimize the impact overall to the employee, but at the same time allow us to make some tweaking of the plan, and I'll hush for a moment.
Well, no, that is the key argument there, because while if you look at the third line down, the deductible, you know, we do have some counties that are lower than us on the deductible. But now remember, this is what we're going to. Every one of them is facing the same kind of increase we are, so we don't know what they're gonna do to their plan in this coming year. But the main thing is, some of their deductibles are lower, but as Joe said, the real issue is, this is supposed to be catastrophic insurance. So if you go in and have an operation, and it costs $30,000, $40,000, which is not unusual, the real issue is, what are you gonna be out of pocket for that operation? And as Joe said, ours is either gonna be $4,000, I mean, for the individual, ours is either gonna be $2,000 or it's gonna be $1,750 maximum plus your deductible. These guys are gonna be much higher than that, particularly if it's a family. They're much higher than we are on that. So that's really how you have to look at it, because it's not just the deductible, it's deductible and the copay before the plan kicks in. When you have an 80-20 plan, the way this works is, the first thing people do, they have to meet their deductible, their individual deductible. Then the plan kicks in, the plan pays 80%, they pay 20% until they hit this maximum copay. And at that point, our plan goes from 80-20 to 100%. The plan picks up 100% after that. So it really does matter what these copays are, because that's what caps what they're gonna pay out of pocket on an operation. So in order to do these, if you look at where they're at, you've got those 6 counties. And that's Harnett, Johnston, Lenoir, Pitt, Wake, and Wilson. We tried to do most of them around us. We did not do the smaller ones like Duplin and Jones and Greene, because they, as you know, they struggle more financially than we do. So they're probably not gonna have as good a plan as we would have on this. What we then did is, as Geraldine and Tommy and I talked about, we felt like we needed to throw in the state plan, because in talking through this, we realized that the state plan had quite a few changes in it in the past year. There's been quite a few state employees been upset about that. We also did not know, but we found out yesterday, we decided we wanted to look at Goldsboro too. And what we found yesterday is Goldsboro this year has switched to the state plan. So let's spend a little bit of time on the state plan and look through that. The option one on the state plan, and we're saying Goldsboro, but when you look at it, if you, it is option 3 on this other page. With state plan, you can either go with an 80-20 plan or you can go with a 70-30. The state pays for the 70-30. But if you go with the 80-20 plan, the state, you have to pay a premium on that, a portion of the premium on that. And then the primary care physicians, if you're on the 70-30 plan, you pay $39. You pay $30 under the 80-20, but remember, you've had to pay some on the premium.
Well,
And then the specialist, under the 70-30 plan, which is the normal plan, they have to pay $92. And we were gonna go to 70.
well, so that we can compare apples to apples, we're not asking any employee to pay any portion of the premium.
No,
So on the state plan, you'd have to compare it to the 70-30, where the state is paying all of the premium and no dollars are coming from the employee.
yeah.
So you'd have to compare it to the 70-30 plan.
Yeah, and the other thing is, remember, with the 70-30 plan, after you meet your deductible, the plan is only paying 70%, you're paying 30%, until you reach your out-of-pocket.
But that's the only plan that's provided to a state employee.
Free,
Free.
that's right.
And so I'm saying, to compare apples to apples, you have to really compare it to the 70-30.
That's right.
Because we don't even offer the option
Of
of
a
paying
70-30.
additional premium to get a 80-20.
No, our regular plan is an 80-20.
Correct.
We don't have a 70-30.
What is the monthly premium for a state employee?
I've got that. 30, was it the $39?
If they meet all three of the requirements.
Yeah, if they meet all 3 requirements. And those are, you attest that you don't smoke, you attend a course or I think you watch a video.
Yeah.
And the third one is you participate in a biometric screening, and that's just a fancy word for, they prick your finger, take some blood, do some blood tests, and they test you for about 5 or 6 major preventable diseases, because what they're trying to do is, for instance, some people are type 2 diabetic and they don't know it. And by taking their blood sugar through that blood test, if we identify that, then we start, we have the nurse practitioner come in, get them on the medications they need and that sort of thing, so that you control the diabetes.
That's $39 per month for the 80-20 plan if they meet those 3.
Those 3.
Okay.
And that's correct.
Which now brings up another complication, but we need to be cognizant of that. And that is, our plan does not provide for any preventive or health issues.
No.
In other words, the same premium whether or not you smoke or you don't smoke.
That's right.
We're not giving any break or any incentive to any kind of employee to quit smoking. We don't have anything in regards to any weight control.
test. Yeah,
What do you call it?
biometric
Biometrics? I'm sure I'm not technically saying that correctly, but we've got to provide some incentives to our group of insurers that they take some responsibility for their health. It's one thing to have something happen, but if there are some things that you can change your lifestyle to reduce expenses, then you ought to benefit from that.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, I was going to speak to that because I'm on that 80-20 plan, and you do have to jump through some hoops to get there. And I just felt it was worth it and pay the extra premium because you don't know what's going to end up costing. And every quarter I have to go in and they have to draw blood and they have to check me out. And you have to select a primary physician on the front end. If you don't, then you're actually on the 70-30. If you go anywhere else, you're going to pay like you would
Bill,
if
did
you went to
say they
somebody else.
test you quarterly?
Yeah.
Every quarter you gotta go get blood drawn.
Every quarter he calls me.
We had gone to the biometric screening where I was before. We did it once a year at enrollment. And
They must think I'm high risk, I don't know.
They don't believe that you don't smoke, so that's what it is.
No, I don't smoke, because I told my wife, I ain't gonna say it on camera.
well,
So they're not gonna come out and give you a pop nicotine test that I have, but,
when I, going to Joe's comments, we have asked Mark III to design some programs for the following year. And we're gonna try to line it probably with Wayne Memorial. That's typically what you do, is you use the local hospital. Some people have talked about using the health department, but a lot of county employees do not want other county employees at the health department knowing their medical business. And so really the best thing to do is, and we had that come up where I was. So we contracted with the local hospital. They set up a team, came in, they set up, and we brought in people in batches of about every 15 people, and we run them through, let them take care of them. And so that way you were able to schedule the workforce all day long coming through there. And, they actually had appointments for a 20-minute period, because that's how many they could run through in that time period.
I think the point I just want to make sure that we all recognize, and that is you really can't compare our proposed plan to the state 80-20, because it's like comparing apples to oranges, in that we are not charging any additional premium, and we do not have any biometric program to pre-screen, to put people into an 80-20. You really have to use the 70-30, because that's what's provided at no cost.
Right. One other thing I did want to mention about Goldsboro is it's that time of year where everybody's into budget, everybody's into medical insurance, because we do this every year. This is a normal process you go through about tweaking your plan. There was on the manager's listserv, there was a question from another city manager, and Scott Stevens answered it. And that's when I found out they charge their employees $50 a month to be on this plan. So that's $600 a year. Now, what Scott said in there was, when they started it, they did an increase to cover that 1 year. But if you're hired now, a new employee, you wouldn't get that. It's whatever rate you're hired at. So I think they tried to absorb it the first time, but they are charging $50 a month to be in the plan. And going back to what Joe said, you don't charge anything. And I'm not suggesting that you go to that. We want to leave it where we pay the employees 100%. But I wanted you to be aware of that with Goldsboro.
Go ahead.
I got a curiosity question. I know last year we went through contract with Mark III to be the provider for us. Was there an increase last year?
I believe there was, and we did the same process. I don't remember. I can go back and find out, Joe, but I think they came in with somewhere around an 8 to 10%, and I did the same thing. I said, I think I got it down to 4. I need to go back and read.
But the thing I guess I'm asking is, it's trending that way every year.
Every year. And that's a good point. You're going to face this every year.
Yeah.
Because every year, medical inflation is more than normal inflation.
So we're hoping maybe with contracting Wayne Memorial Hospital, doing that wellness program, those events, that it will give some credit towards.
That's right.
Keeping it reduced.
The idea is that, and this is a rule of thumb, but all of these guys say that 20% of your population is driving 80% of your claim dollars. So what you're trying to do is identify on the front end people who have these chronic diseases that are readily treatable. Like if you've got hypertension that could lead to stroke and heart attacks, things like that, you got high cholesterol, those blood tests, they can test for all of that, and taking your blood pressure and everything, and then they can recommend the medications and more exercise, whatever the preventative is. And some places, even like on diabetic medicine, they provide that at no cost, because they've determined it's cheaper to provide that and keep people on that maintenance dose than if you had serious complications of diabetes like blindness or amputations or things like that.
I think I mentioned when you and Wayne and I were talking, if we could help maybe or look at the pharmacy part
Yeah.
If we could pharmacy through the health department 4 hour, might get a better rate through some type of co-op.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there are counties that do that now. Our issue right now is space, but as we go through and what do I want to say, refurbish the health department, we really ought to look at that, because that's a successful program in several counties.
Now, I don't know, Wayne Moore might be open to it as well, because they have their
Well,
pharmacy.
Tommy was saying, I think Harnett County, they stock what, the top 50 drugs or something,
Yeah.
and employees can buy those there. Now, you'll get some blowback from local pharmacies, because.
You might get some good from the taxpayers too.
Well, that's true, but I just want to tell you, there's pros and cons to
Yeah.
that, because when you do that, you're basically cutting into their profit margin. But remember, the health department can buy the drugs wholesale. So,
I know the hospital has got their way of pharmacy. I don't know whether it's just with
Yeah.
hospital employees or not. I don't think the general public can go in there and,
Right.
I don't know, but I know they have their way of pharmacy, because Linda uses it quite often, because she's a retired employee.
So what we've tried to do, we've given you a comparison with 6 other counties. We've given you the state plans, and we've given you Goldsboro, which is basically the state plan, because they've shifted to that this year, the year we're in now. So this is their first year in the plan. And if you recall, this is the first year that cities and counties, a limited number, have been allowed in the state plan. I don't recommend we look at the state plan. I think, and Bill, you're on it. Ed, are you on the state
Yeah.
plan, or are you is it primary or secondary for you? Are you on Medicare?
Medicare.
Okay, so that's primary then. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to be on this plan. It's better than what
It's
I've.
better than the state plan,
It
isn't it?
is better.
Okay.
I mean, and the other thing too is there's already rumblings in the General Assembly, because we're facing the same increase as well, that, I don't know if they'll do it in a short session, but they might
Right.
address it there, and my benefits will change.
That's right. Well, let me address the $150 deductible on the pharmacy, because you'll notice nobody else yet is doing that. That is a growing trend, though. I went to this about 4 years ago in Lincoln County, and we did it for the same reason, because one of the fastest growing components of your health care is pharmaceuticals. We're the most over-medicated population in the world, I think. But the growth continues, and it's both. It's inflation on pharmacy, but it's also increased utilization of pharmacy. And so the increase in our utilization was over 30% in 1 year. That's a whopping increase. And so what we're trying to do here is address where the problem is, so we have she's saying speak up. Yeah, okay. I knew that's what he was saying. Okay, so you have the $150 deductible is a way of addressing some of that. And what that means is a person has to meet that deductible before the plan kicks in at the $10 generic and all of that. So July 1, your first $150 of pharmacy purchases would be under the deductible, so they would be paid by the employee.
Can I get you to elaborate a little bit? As we got the information from Mark III, there was the tremendous expense and spike, and that was in pharmacy.
That's right.
And so something had to be done in our plan to control that.
That's right.
Understand that I want to put this in proper perspective, because I'm not blaming county employees, but county employees are going to have to recognize that they're a part of this, and they're going to have to help us control costs.
Right.
So they're going to have to start shopping for their medicines rather than just going to whatever drugstore and say, fill it. And this kind of puts them in a position of having to shop for their medicines. Let's get a better deal.
Yeah.
You can go to Walmart and get generics for $6. You can go to whatever name, non-name brand, whatever drugstore and buy that generic, and it costs you $25. So I'm just saying, employees are gonna have to start shopping for better value.
And going along with what Joe's saying there, you'll see that our current pharmacy is 10, 45, 60, and then 25% of the total cost. The first one is generics. We've left that at $10, because there's where you want to get people to.
Correct.
Is use the generic. Ask your doctor, is there a generic for this? And if so, I want it. And so what we're doing is, the difference between that and the first tier is $45 to $10. If you go with the option of no premium improvement here, or no premium increase, that goes up to $60. So the difference between 60 and 10, of course, there's a $50 difference. So if you think about that, if that's a drug that you are on monthly, that's $600 a year if you can switch to a generic drug.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is it legal for us to maybe work out some kind of deal with different druggists to give discounts to our employees?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. No.
If you could get them to do it.
Yeah.
Drugstore, do it. There's nothing prohibits the county from trying to get that.
That's a good question, and maybe there's something we need to look at is possibly negotiating with one or two, three, whatever, druggists and say, this is the price we're willing to pay, are you willing to fulfill that? I mean, that basically is what Blue Cross does, they go in there and establish what they're going to pay for that procedure.
On their PPO. Bill, did you say the state does that? Do they tell you where you have to buy the drugs?
They don't tell you where you have to buy, but they cap what you're gonna get. And anything over and above, you're gonna pay out of your pocket.
Out of your pocket, yes.
And I'll let me lean there because he'll be coming here and tell me to move up. My wife, her doctor had put her on Crestor for her cholesterol. And I was on the generic Lipitor. And so she was paying right at $70 a month for that drug, and I'm paying $6. And they're essentially the same drug. So moving her to the generic, if she went down to the $6, but anything above that amount, if there's a generic, you're gonna pay out of pocket. I don't care where you go. And there are some drugs that on the state plan are just completely restricted.
Yeah, they're not on.
Lifestyle drugs, I guess I'll call them that.
Yeah.
And because you can't get them, you pay for them yourself. And that's just the way it works.
Let me ask you on that. So you're saying, let's take Crestor and Lipitor. Are you saying that on Linda's $70 that you all had to pay out of pocket the difference?
That's what she was paying every month.
That's what she was paying?
And that's right. And then I said, are you nuts? I said, tell your doctor to switch you over to the generic Lipitor, and we went to $6. So that's a huge change in dollars.
Well, it is.
But, you know, I don't know why that doctor, the previous physician we had, put her on that when the other was available. I have my ideas.
Because the pharmaceutical companies visit them quite often.
Well, I was gonna say that, and I was trying to find the political.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear that the devil's in the details. Even though you got an 80-20 plan and they've got this established, they basically are limiting what they're gonna pay, and it's gonna be the generic. And if you go and get the name brand, or your doctor prescribes that, you're gonna pay the difference.
I get generic all the time if I
So
can.
question
I'm just
then,
tight.
Getting back to the pharmaceutical, why couldn't Wayne County issue a RFP for pharmaceuticals to the local drugstore?
What I'm hearing Gordon say is that you could.
And then you could have 1 to 20 or 1 to 50, ever how many met the criteria. If they're all within a certain range, then give the option to the employees, A through Z or A through N, whatever numbers you had.
Well, or I think the approach the state's using is, rather than do that, is it looks like they've gone through and just capped what they'll participate in.
That's it.
And then the dollars drive that.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you, you're going, and I'm not trying to dissuade you from doing it, but I'm just telling you, you're gonna get a tremendous amount of blowback Yeah, sure.
Well, imagine if you lived in Duplin County as an example and don't have access to a card or whatever drugstore here in Goldsboro, then you know that's going to be somewhat of an issue.
I like that approach better, and I think it's a good idea to talk to them and let them, but we need to educate our employees to let them know that they do need to shop around, and you can get things a lot cheaper and get the same drug. The pill may look a little bit different and it doesn't have a brand name on it, but if it's passed, to the FDA, it's the same thing.
Well, I brought up the subject of the medicine to my doctor.
Yeah.
And his comment always is, well, and the pharmacist also, that this state plan is managed, I guess I'd call that, by United Healthcare. And I get switched from one generic to another because that's what they were paid.
That's right.
And the reason that I question it, they say they're all the same, but each time I switch from one generic to another one, the pill gets larger and larger. And so I think what they're doing is those big ones must be cheaper to make, but a more inferior piece of equipment. I mean, it's just...
Might be a lot of filler on it.
Well, I'm being honest, this is just the way I feel.
Yeah, you might be getting more for your money.
You take Mr. Mayo running that shop that he does, he knows that the more refined a piece of equipment come out of that lathe or out of that mold, it's more discriminating than it is you get a big piece. I mean, if you're cutting a piece of molding, wait, this is my, if I'm cutting a piece of finished molding to go around a crown molding, I'm gonna have to be more careful than I am if I'm cutting a piece of 2x4. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So that's sort of the way I see these medicines, and I never had a chance to openly complain about it. But and just one final thing on mine, it says the copay PCP is $20 and the specialist is $40. Emergency room is $65. They have that on that little card for me to read.
Yeah.
But this is a very interesting opportunity here because either I've never taken the time or I've never got to one of those big sessions where they have a great explanation of it.
Well, it's a complicated subject because, the reality is, and going back to Joe's question previously, is the reality is we're going to face somewhere between 7 and 10% medical inflation every year for the foreseeable future. And I don't see that changing because the Affordable Care Act, as we know, has some funding issues. So at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay for the programs,
Well, just as one final aside to that, and I said this to someone, and I'm not speaking for teachers in state of, but teachers over time have not argued about raises is because the benefit packages, the medicine, the card had an offsetting opportunity, and but this last phase of medicine we're in, I guess Raleigh's the legislators in Raleigh are the ones that decided that what's set now because I guess they give the companies an opportunity to go up.
Well, I think what happened last year, and I didn't, because we're not in the state health plan, I didn't pay that much attention to it. But I think what's happened is they were just financially they were against the wall, and so they had to make some substantial changes. And the legislature did do that, but they did that because they couldn't keep absorbing all of these increases. So they're going through at a bigger level. They're going through exactly what you're going through.
Well, they
got more employees, but the issues
are the same.
That's
what I wanted to get us to get to with this open discussion. That we're making a decision at this level that the state made upon the rest of us because no one called me up and asked me whether or not I wanted to pay that. I mean, it just came in the mail, and I saw where mine had bumped up $5 or $10.
Well, and let me say this. We're still better off having our own plan because here's the advantage of this plan is you're able to do exactly what we're talking about. You're able to get with your broker and say, give me options on how can I lower this premium. Now, by definition, that means the plan will not be as good as it was the year before. And I'm not gonna, you know, blow smoke at anybody about that. That's exactly what tweaking it means, is we're decreasing the benefits a little bit. But that's what everybody is having to do, whether you're a public employer, a private employer, it doesn't matter. Because nobody can absorb this kind of rate increase going, you know, year after year. You just couldn't do it and stay in business. And for those of us who are not bottom line driven with the private sector, you can't afford it either, because our revenues are not growing at a level that allows us to absorb this. And, you know, during my career, this is something we've done every year. It's just part of the budget process every year.
Well, and if I might also object that, and that is that, and this is a great discussion. I'm glad we went into this work session, because the problem that we had is that our backs are against the wall in regards to starting to create a budget. You've got to have the number of what it's going to cost. But what this discussion has brought up, and I think in all of our minds, is that we're going to have to look long range in regards to how we can possibly look at another provider, like, what would you say, it was United Healthcare that now is taking over the state plan?
That's who meant,
That's
who
the
runs
Medicare.
my
That's
portion.
just, they take over, when you get to Medicare, you gotta go to United.
Well, okay, but I'm just
What you
saying,
said
maybe we
again,
need to look
Johnston.
at, well, Johnson right now is using Coventry. Maybe we need to look at somebody else to bring them in and say, hey, if we can save you money by doing this, and we have this type of program or that type of program, so that we're not having to increase some of these deductibles.
Yeah, and I will say this, that's part of what Mark does every year, Mark III does for you. And thus far, Blue Cross Blue Shield is the best as a third-party administrator that we have.
Well, and the second part of that is to develop as soon, we don't necessarily need to wait until next year.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and have Mark III develop us our health wellness program or whatever,
Okay.
and working with Wayne Memorial Hospital so that our employees can actually go there for screening and help to help their health. And as their health improves, so do our claims go down. And possibly look at some way to get a better deal on the medicines and the drugs and so forth. But we're gonna have to look at other avenues that have not been looked at before.
Have me walk through that
Okay.
sheet right there. We
Have-
need health insurance of
Yeah,
assumptions.
we're gonna go
health
through that in
insurance
just a moment.
assumptions. Okay.
Have, I'm quite sure you did, or Mark III or somebody did. Have we contacted any providers other than Blue Cross? I mean,
They do that on an annual basis, because we're looking at whether or not the ASO contract, whether they're and so you look at it, they're administering all the claims for you, just as if we were Blue Cross, we were paying them a premium on it. But, in addition, you look at the big savings is in the PPO network. So what I'm gonna tell you is, it's a little hard to do a comparison, apples to apples comparison, because not all these guys are gonna tell you exactly what their discount is. But that's how he has to try to negotiate with them, because the big money is in the PPO discount. It's not so much the fees you're paying them to administer the program, it's in, because if somebody is at 40%, somebody else is at 35%, obviously you want the 40% discount.
Sure. Mr. Mayo.
Just a comment. One of, I guess it's a concern is that, and it's true in the private sector, it's true in our business, is that younger employees don't particularly care about health care and the benefits. They want the money in their paycheck each and every week or whatever. The older employees are looking at the benefit package.
That's right.
So here we are. We got all this to take a look at. And my concern is that in this whole mix, can we retain the employees we have? Because if somebody says, hey, I can go to Johnson County and I can start out with $2,000 more a year, the key is that They may not be overall when you look at the benefit package, but younger employees don't care about the benefit package. They don't care about 401K. They want to know what's in their paycheck right now.
Right.
And so that's my concern, is that, yes, there's things we need to do, but all this comes into the mix.
Well, and you make a good point. I mean, you've gotta look at all of this combined for two reasons. One is just what you said, is how is our pay package competitive?
Yeah.
It's the salary and the benefits. But the second thing is, it's also true from a budgetary standpoint, because, you know, you can't put all your eggs in one part. I mean, if you give a raise, but then you don't change anything on the plan, that gets eaten up with premium increases too. Plus, there's a big, then the county can't afford it, because you're giving the raises, plus you're eating a 9% premium increase. So you can't do everything. And that's why it's a tough decision every year, and it's a balancing act. There's no question about that.
What?
I did want to mention one thing, talking about the younger employees. The younger employees, the HSA plan really is the best for them. Because you give them $750 a year. They can defer other money into that. And then that money is sitting there if they need it. But you're right, I've got a 29-year-old, I don't think he spends a dime. You know, he might go to the dentist, that's about it.
Right.
Commissioner Acon.
How many, roughly, I know you don't know, can't give me an exact figure, but how many county employees do we have?
Well, there's 513.
I think it's about 800 and something. Now, remember, our
Is it close to
part-time.
is it close to 900?
Probably around 830, but remember, the part-time employees are not eligible for medical. If you're under 30.
Yeah, there's 744.
I
that
know
was how many were in
744
it.
last year.
They're not all on the plan.
Well, that's my point, is we got showing 744 here. We know that's not the exact figure, but we're gonna use it. 744, you say we got 830. Part of them, part-timers.
Could be on, well, no, they could be on their
Could be
spouses.
opt-out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're either on their spouses or
Retired military.
retired, or
That's right. And this is the second job.
or either on a better plan than what we got.
Could be.
Well, and on that point, if I could point out, we're also recommending that we increase the opt-out from $500 to $1,000.
Right. Which
And
encourages more employees who can be on their spouse's plan to get on it.
So we are actually going to give a little bit more of an incentive that if you can be on your spouse's plan, that you actually go there, and we're gonna double that from 500 to 1,000. So, and Commissioner Mayo.
So being self-funded, there's not a requirement for everybody to participate?
No.
In
No,
the
there is a
private
requirement under the ACA that anybody who works 30 more hours, you must offer it. They don't have to take it,
Right.
but you have to offer it, and we do that. And we checked out legally about the opt-out last year, and we found that is legal. You can continue to offer the opt-out. And I agree with what Joe was saying. We do want to take that to 1,000. We don't have that many to do it, but the more of those that do it, I mean, they're off your plane.
All right, and if you would go to the assumptions here, the sheet.
Okay, walk through that.
This kind of shows what our out-of-pocket expenses are gonna be
My next question.
under the existing plan and the new plan.
Okay. I'm gonna ask Geraldine to do that.
Okay.
Because she prepared it.
Great, great. Besides, that'll give you a reason why you came. Thanks, Carolyn, for
You're
being here.
I tried to look at someone who is in one of our lower grades and how this is going to affect someone. So even though the names, the James Smith and the John Doe, are not real, these are real people, and I took a look at their current situations. So if I'm looking at a housekeeper who is single and has one child, making $19,001 per year, which comes out to $1,583 per month. And after taxes and paying that premium on the health care for $195.40 for one child, it cleared $904.79 per month. Now, if that one child gets sick and during the day, and they take that child to the doctor, let's say they have an ear infection, they're going to spend $30 with their primary physician for that office visit. Now, if that ear infection is serious enough, they're going to have to refer that child to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And most primary doctors now are at a point that they're going to refer you somewhere else, typically to a specialist. And that is going to cost an additional $60. And if there is a prescription involved, and most likely it'll be an antibiotic, such as amoxicillin, they're going to pay $10 for that. So they're going to spend $100 for the care of that child for that ear infection. Now, if we look at it, and that is just under the current plan. If we look at it underneath that, and we're looking at option 3, which still has a zero net effect on our current health plan, they're going to spend a little bit more because that ear, nose, and throat specialist is going to go up to $70. So they're going to spend $115 because that primary physician also went up an additional $5. Now, if that child should ever get sick at night, in the middle of the night, and their primary doctor is not available and the urgent care facilities have closed down, and they've got a really serious ear infection, and if they go to the emergency room, if you look at the right-hand column, that visit is going to cost $150 flat. They're going to pay that much because that's part of their deductible. They're probably still going to be asked to follow up with their primary physician, which is going to cost another $30, and they're still going to have to get a prescription, which is going to cost $10. So they're going to spend $190 under our current plan. Now, it's not going to cost that much more if we go to option 3, which is what's being offered now. The only difference is going to be the follow-up with that doctor is going to cost $35 as opposed to $30. So it's going to cost them $195. Now,
So just to recap there, we're talking about an additional $15 if they go to a primary physician that refers them to a specialist.
That's right.
It'll cost them an additional $15.
an additional $15
If
under
they go to
option
the
3.
emergency room, it's gonna cost them an extra $5.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. They're going to spend more money because of the emergency room visit because they may not have any option, any other choice at night.
Okay.
Now, if we look down at the bottom and you take someone in that same salary range, this is a person who's married, but they also carry their spouse on their insurance, but they don't carry any dependent children. So again, they're making $1,583 a month, but after taxes and that additional premium for the spouse, they're only clearing $794.15 per month. Now, if that spouse has to go into the hospital under the current plan, they're probably going to go to the doctor first to find out just what was wrong, and that's going to cost them $30. That doctor is going to say, this is more than I can handle, we're going to have to admit you to the hospital, and let's say that total bill averages 3 days. It's going to run about $24,000. They're going to have to pay that $1,500 deductible plus 20%, which is going to be $4,500, and plus the cost of that initial doctor visit, $4,530, and that's discounting any medications that they may have to get after they come out of the hospital. Now, under option 3, that person goes to the doctor to start with. They're going to pay $35 for that primary visit, and that same visit, because the deductible is a little bit higher, it's not going to be that much of a variance in what they're going to have to pay out of pocket. It's going to cost $4,450, giving a total expense of $4,485, not counting any medication that they might need.
So actually, that's a little less.
Well, the reason is your maximum copay is less.
Right, okay.
So again,
I think that what that's showing is that there's really minimum impact financially on our employee.
Under option 3.
That's right, under option 3. It's very, very, yeah. I think a lot, for what I heard from some comments was some concerns in regards to the effect on the employee. And it's just, it really is minimal, and it makes it affordable for not only the employee, but also for the county. So, okay. Any questions on that?
I just have one quick, this may sound a little crazy, but a lot of times in insurance companies, you notice the employee make $19,000 and $1 Now, drop that $1 off.
I noticed that $1. I don't know what that $1 is for.
And then what will it be?
It's not gonna really make any difference.
It won't make
No,
it, okay.
it
I
won't
was just
affect
wondering
it.
about that.
But if we do look at the first one with Jane Smith on an ear infection at the doctor, for option 3 versus current plan, it is a 15% increase.
Are you talking about for the doctor's office or for?
Yes, to the doctor's office.
It's $15 more, that's
It
all.
says a 15% increase.
Yeah.
And that's what I was gonna ask. Your percentage is correct, but the number of times that this happens over a period of a year, you know, if you do it, if it's 20 times and you pay 15, you know, it can mount up over a year time.
Well, and that's why all of this is, to some degree, it varies. You know, because one of the first things Geraldine talked about was if somebody's young, they're not going to use it much. If they're older, obviously all of us who are older have health issues. So it's really kind of hard to quantify.
Yeah, it is.
How often it'll happen and that sort of thing. But we felt like the best thing we could do is give you an individual example and then go.
I got one granddaughter that goes 3 times a year. I've got one grandson that he don't go at all. So I mean, it's gonna be a variable.
So getting back to the first page.
Are you on the big chart now, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
And looking, just for example, option 2, where it's a 4.3% increase to go to
Yes.
that option, is that 4.3% for county only, or would the employees?
It's
dependent?
both. You take that premium chart I gave you and you adjust every number.
Okay, so employee child would go up additional close to $10.
Employee child, yeah, 195 times, yeah,
So
that's right.
so that's $120 a year increase out of their check versus the other way you look at it.
That's
So
correct.
It kind of, it narrows the gap somewhat.
That's right.
And everybody buys into.
And like the
trying to
two, and then if you had a children, the 285, that's 28 times 2, that'd be almost $50 a month, more, 600. Now, the offset to that is, we are charging the 150 deductible
Right.
on the pharmacy.
Right.
But as Joe said, we've got to do something on this pharmacy component.
I agree.
We're getting killed on it.
Well, I hadn't looked at that. Based upon option 3, we've got to keep in mind that those people that are covering spouse and covering family, that their premiums are going to will not go up.
Right.
There will not be
They're not
any
going up
increase.
at all.
Right.
And that was the
If we
key
go with
question
one of
right
these
there
others,
is
that
how do
would
you?
be- and
but-
that's a good point.
But and see, the idea is, because remember, we being the county, do not pay any portion of dependent coverage. So if they've got those, they've got to pay that. And so you've got to raise that up, or you're basically shuffling more of the cost over to the county.
I mean, if you got to have an increase, that's just safe.
So let me expand that just a bit. So basically, you were saying $10 a month, $120 a year, just for the children?
That's just a child.
That's for one child?
If you go children, it'd be more like $46 a month times 12 would be almost $600. It'd be like $550.
So if I'm understanding, on one end, I would pay out of pocket an extra, is my granddaughter that went there 3 times, that'd be $45 I'd pay. But if I go with the option 2, actually, I don't pay that extra, but
You're paying
I'm
it in
paying
premiums.
$120 more. So actually, I'm in the negative.
And then in addition to that, to narrow that gap even more, that monthly premium will avoid with option 3, as I was talking to our finance director earlier, if we get people to participate in the flexible spending account on that $150 deductible, that would narrow that down another 30%.
It's taxable, yeah,
Right,
because
so
it's not
that's
taxable.
a good point.
The thing to remember about this is, and it seems kind of commonplace, but sometimes we forget about it, is if you raise the premium, everybody's goes up. If you raise co-pays, deductibles, things like that, the people that hits is the people who actually have to use it. And most of us don't have an operation every year. it's a once every, 5 or 6 years? So, 4 of those years, that stuff's not gonna come into play very much. But it's the time when you have that operation and it's a $30,000 or $40,000 bill, then it makes a difference. But the people that are dealing with that is only the person who has that specific illness or ailment or whatever. But a premium, everybody's paying it, whether you utilize it more or not.
I want to know what hospital you're going to and getting that for $30,000 to $40,000.
Well, I was going by the one I had.
All right, is there any other questions anyone has?
I know you can't give me the figures now, but just first of all, which option are we looking at? I mean, all three of them?
I recommended the option of no increase, which would be option 3.
Okay.
Again, option 2 would cost you $291,000 more. Option 1 would cost you $359,000 more. So we're really back to what can you realistically afford. And I don't want to beat a dead horse about what all we're facing, but we are facing some added costs this year. One of them being, as y'all know, the detention officers we got to pick up for the full year. Coming down the pike, it won't be this year, but the next year we'll have the debt service start kicking in on the Ag Center, which is going to be a pretty hefty number. So,
And in a global way, I think you're telling us we can't afford all of it. We just gotta adjust it so that we can.
Well, this is kind of why we get paid the big bucks of being commissioner. These are some tough decisions, and I recognize that.
And Ed, I guess going back to what you said previously, about looking at the total compensation package, or maybe it was Ray. I think that we know we've got some positions that are underpaid. That's why we need to do these reclassifications as quickly as we can. We've identified DSS and public health both. We have issues. If we're going to come up with the money to do that, we can't be putting more of it into benefits. I would rather go with this and then look at the merit increases and the reclassifications, because that's where our real issue is.
Yeah.
And that's going to have a bigger impact in retaining people, because when you look at the percentage raises we gave on EMS and deputy sheriffs and the jailers, that would more than cover these kinds of things.
That was my next question, is the figures that I'd like to see is take the departments we just adjusted the pay salaries or the grades. I'd like to know that cost us X number of dollars.
Right.
And then I'd like to know how much it costs us for those departments above what we were paying. And then I'd like to take, and I know you can't hit it exactly, the same employees in those departments, figure it on using option 3 so I can see the difference in what it's going to cost the county and what it's going to cost the employees.
Okay, we'll try to get that for you.
Well, again, I want to make sure that we kind of look at it from the standpoint of the housekeeper that's got the one child. I think that's a great analogy, because that's the one I think that we are most concerned about, of how that's going to affect it. And if you go with the 4.3% increase, it would end up costing that employee more money for covering of the child, because it would increase it by $120 just in the premium, but the actual cost of out of pocket is going to be $45. So she ends up losing, and that's the most critical, I think, employee that we've got. If it's an employee that's a department head, I don't think this is really going to be
Exactly, that's the reason that we implemented the bonus program. I mean, everybody gets the same thing. I mean, the $19,000 employee gets the same thing as the $75,000 employee.
Right. Well, we're getting close to our time. Is there anyone have any more questions?
I just want to make sure we verify with Mark 3 what they did to analyze our PPO. Is it Blue Cross Blue Shield only, or did they do others?
Okay.
I just want to make sure.
And he'll be here at 11:30. So we'll try to, I hope y'all don't mind, I invited him to go to lunch with us, because that'll also give y'all an opportunity. As long as he pays us.
As long as he pays, I mean, we're okay with that.
Okay,
Well, one more.
Go ahead.
And I know Ms. Shirley made this sheet up. And the thing that I was always interested in was so the employee could see, because I always played in the back of my mind, the employee could see how this plan over time would, and if they got their rate, if they got their merit increases, how they would come out on the plus side. That's what the employee wants to see, is how I'm gonna come out on the plus side. And maybe a little graph showing that, cause something it's easy for people to read and see in the individual, maybe the presentation that you'll make to individual department, whatever. However, it's gonna be disseminated to the employee.
Well, when
so
they
they'll
go through,
understand it.
the other reason we have to have this, one is for the budget, but the other is for open enrollment. Because this goes into effect July 1. Our employees have to go through open enrollment. We typically do that in May. And that's where they make their selections about what plan do they want to be under and that sort of thing. And so we have to be able to tell them, because we do a presentation to each one, and we walk them through what the costs are, what the benefits are there, so they can make an intelligent decision based on the facts. And Geraldine and her people do that, well, along with Mark III's people, right, there's open enrollment.
All right, we're gonna break here and go to lunch here shortly. I'm hoping that over the lunch hour that you all will consider what questions we want to ask of Mark III, because when we come back, he'll be here and we'll be in session that we can talk about that. But think about any other questions that you might have, so that hopefully we can be making a decision. We need to make a decision on what we need to do going forward. The next thing is that while we've got Mark III here, if we're looking at some enhancements, we want to go ahead and make sure that we discuss that with him at that time. Yes, Commissioner.
I'd just like to make a little statement. We do a lot of things on this board, especially when it comes to brick and mortar. And it's good to hear us discuss doing something for the employees for change.
Well taken. I agree. Any other comments? All right, we're going to recess at this time for our Seven Springs Commissioners Lunch. And after lunch, we'll come back here and talk to Mark III. Thank you. All right, we're going back into session. You heard him back there? Mr. Wood.
Okay. Well, when we broke for lunch, as I told y'all, we were going to have Mark Browder here. Mark is the principal with Mark III, our insurance. And we've covered and give outlines. I think he probably has some comments for you. And then after that, I take it just from Charlotte, questions, anything you want for that today. And then I'll give us 2 weeks, because I told him to give us 2.
Sure.
Welcome.
I'm back to these. Maybe just briefly, George, I don't know how much you want me to share, but I like work like Basil says your last year heard is George, I don't know. That's so you had in your reduction budget and the increase in claims really put us in a difficult position coming in the year. But that have been trying to as we year. But facing 16 is that overall claims trend is up about 4%. So that's a positive and much better position than we were last year. Calls for an increase. And as Mr. Gated to substantial is farm this year. So it is a big driver, and it's one of the things that we were addressing as we were going into this review process, trying to make it could continue to fund the plan, keep it within range. And I know you've looked at your plan relative to other groups that are around you, the state health plan and so forth, and you still, even with the changes, think the health plan. The drivers, of course, are the health of the population. So I think the station board calculation coming that you go this year, blessing strategies, employees. There were some given meetings that Farmers County Health Department group have historically purchased medication for their employees. It was active because the health departments in the counties were purchasing the medications at Medicare, Medicaid rates, which are far below what you would pay today through benefit manager cross. The pharmaceutical industry got wind of the B price. It was for county allowed, but county pharmacies manage our C. And I think, Mr. Wood, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to address that may have been questions that come up.
I think the other one was the possibility of capping our participation on prescriptions. Bill,
State health do limits. They have one for medical and they have one for pharmacy. And part of that is just mechanics of external pharmacy benefit manager and the health plan. The health plan is run by Blue Cross Express Benefit Manager. They create a pocket, not concessions that you hear it. You're just passing. So what the state has done is they said, okay, your out-of-pocket limit is say $3,900 on the medical. It's $20 out of. But then you can talking about high $6,800 range of events and cost share by the solutions that do. It's not the.
What we really know is the way they got it set up, it drives you to the generic, because if you buy anything else, they only pay so much and you got to pay the rest.
Yeah, it's, I've looked at the state health plan recently because I've had a group or two. It's set up as co-pays, two where it's co-pays, it's 12, 6 for your 60 something maybe for the.
Yeah, we've got that.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good. 64 for the preferred plans, but for the a little 32 that limit. It's just finding on what is not essentially what's which is up to us a much better are available. It is your counties from doing within the county advantage the Blue Cross, but some of the medications they cannot or don't. There's not enough volume to purchase, such as the specialty medications, which can range anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 all the way up to $80,000. So that the specialty medication purchase typically doesn't go in at the county pharmacy just because of the frequency, the cost, the handling, the shelf life on it, and so forth. So I guess with that, obviously you have 3 options to consider. We worked with staff to try to come up with a solution that was, from a budgetary standpoint, would work within the 16-17 budget. The purpose of me being here today is to answer any questions that you might have, concerns, address sort of how this was formulated, anything that I can do to help you make the decision.
If I could start off with one of the questions that I would have, and I think others have, and that is, what process do we go through, or you go through, in regards to the Blue Shield principle, you might want to call this care or some other?
Only bidding every year. There's always counties in play that are being bid, and it's for a variety of reasons. One could be the fixed cost is a problem. That is, the administration cost, the stop loss is a problem. Other reasons could be potentially service related, or just needing to bid it, to shop it, to check to make sure. There's open to the cost is discross. There've been the costs that may not good at. Okay, well, good. People keep. I was at a Forsyth County Commissioner meeting last week, and people keep sending me articles on what I said. So I'll have to be careful. But generally, Ross still did discounts. And their pharmacy plan, the pharmacy benefit manager, is also extremely competitive, both on the admin side and on the ingredient cost side. But Blue Cross is very competitive. If you look at it's the health that you're self-funded talk about. First, because elected officials look at total cost. 85% of your more structure claims population has. Approximately 10% of your total cost is going to be your fixed cost, the administrative stop loss, and all the health of anyone accidents and so to do with it. Your self-fund avoiding built into it. One is tax that this. So on your plan, you're avoiding that, which is actually the sure. So 5% dollars. So long better off being you are on a fully insured basis. It used to be that you could get an insurer to buy the business. Those days are long gone. Because of reform of carrier of market, the premiums that came in, they can't retain that anymore. It has to be distributed out. They have to have certain target loss ratios where money within the buying insurance side does not exist in the market anymore. So then you get back to are the discounts competitive? Absolutely across. Bid your plan. Expectation would based on the claims. That is going to be consistently the same, and in some cases the other payers aren't. but you're not gonna be better objection. Then you're at the bottom end cost, administrative cost. It's wicked competitive. So your admin is very competitive to bid, but I do know your admin is very competitive, your stop loss is very competitive, extremely competitive. So would you place where you're
side looking in, the taxpayers that are funding this? I think that taxpayers are basically have a competitive, do not want really to the out of the market. Competitive and benefit want to see level deal more or sure. So basically, and yes, this will be rolled and so forth, but that's basically it. You don't want to have it too weighted. I mean, where public employees are getting just tremendous benefits versus the private sector. Sure. Just hoping we're going to balance.
Can I define the market?
Sure.
So your market is other county governments, and that is who will help run services. Considerations. I sound take in the picture. Medical benefits, pay as compensation. So when the markets count and that employ at it, because I have time for client compare your peer group to the citizens. Some changes the benefit change 16. Also, they're actually being changed the other, and that's budgetary. That's love to have, but it also and it is moving. Seeing the privacy with the issues, our funding side, especially for changes. I really think your peer group, your market, really you should be looking at counties and cities. Comparative data source.
And then one last question, that is, are we able to also, can we a pharmacy, Walmart, where those will be at a lower elsewhere?
Usually on some of this, I would tell you what's going on within the pharmaceutical industry is it's not to benefit employee, their choice of utilizations they take. You've actually got a very high generic dispensing rate where employees are choosing brands, whereas for it's the raising the cost, the ingredient cost of the medication is going up at a rate above, and that's population. You have a big population, intensive or population. I mean, weight is the driver here, as in all of our groups. There's some opportunity for some savings, but I would tell you that all of the pharmacy benefit management system being hard to have an impact on the cost of the medication, where we see is typically price in an on-site impact on the renewal added to the future.
Yes, but it does not. Our most plans do rate higher if I'm together. So there is no rating under ours. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But we do not have any for wellness.
Yes, sir.
We need you to develop one of these programs rapidly.
In last meeting, we actually provided some driven around weight. In North Carolina, you have to be, can't penalize for in North Carolina legal product or plan. Provides a participant tobacco user invest on the user. If you have to participate in the tobacco quit or NC quit program, cessation program using tobacco. At your health, for me, the focus is on the weight, which is health of the population, provided in that actually would be executed in 2017-18, and it about it, if you will, circumference strategy. It is a reward system for performance, and employees would receive dollars either in their health savings account form. They met the incentive, the threshold as well. So we like waste. BMI sheriff who is in a great would fail BMI miserably because of his weight to height ratio. Added on the step is really to at least do the and with your approval, we'll come back, we'll present that to you, and if you guys like forward with it.
To 17.
This is an interesting one. I'm great with acceleration on that front, but then I will defer back to Jerry Lynn and HR because what will happen is if we put an incentive in place and we do the screenings in July, and within 3 months we turn around and say, hey, you've met the threshold, bam, we're going to give you the incentive. Employees would say to her, this is not fair. I wasn't given time to make the change or improve to make the plus baseline year as well. And so typically what happens is you take the baseline, the adequate amount of 12 months to make them, sometimes you put in research coaching. Typically you have to give them time to be able to improve and or meet the incentive. And that's typically why it's deferred or delayed. There are things we could do prior to that, depending on the appetite for acceleration. But that's just one of the areas to meet threshold.
So Mark, are you saying that like metrics in September, but it would, the rates and everything, the incentive wouldn't come into effect?
Yeah.
But that puts them on notice to make an
Correct.
improvement?
And it's also a budgetary issue because within the renewal, budgeted for this. Usually, if you do what I'm suggesting, about half the population will meet it out of the box in the second measurement. And it adds about 1% to the total cost of the plan. So it is a budgetary item as well. So maybe do the screenings in the early fall, give everybody their baseline, give them approximately 6 to 9 months to then, or improve to, you distribute it to the team. That's the time frame in our experience, and we've been working on doing wellness things for about 15 to 20 years.
I got a question on that one. So, on the incentives you're talking about, how does that measure up to the PPO? See that as giving us credit to help?
No, because you're a self-funded plan. It's based on your actual claims activity.
So you're trying to create a better, healthier lifestyle for an employee, reducing the rates of the pharmacy and.
Yes, so it's a long-term strategy. What I'm suggesting to you will not make next year wonderful. In some respects, it might make next year worse because people find out things that they didn't know that they had. But it is all about the health risk in North Carolina and the country is the weight of the population. And it's the hardest, it's the most brutal, grinding, frustrating thing for all of us to deal with. But it used to be, and I'll address your question specifically, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina used to give you a credit, a discount, if you will, for meeting certain criteria. They don't offer that to new groups anymore. They found that it's good, but it doesn't necessarily have a meaningful or it doesn't have a measurable impact on the claims. But we know, all of us, that as blood pressure goes down, needing a potential situation is, all the things you pay, probably one of the most important things you can give them is good health. And you as an employer are absolutely in the best position to lead your employees and their family members. The medical to try to figure out which they don't spend with in many cases economic. You've got research, so it's to do it year over year, measurable risk, which ultimately helps relative to the private sector. You're more invested in the health of your need typically.
What, I think is in the fall, you've done notify our people that this crisis of 17.
Sure.
Everybody
And I
good with that?
understand. Yes. I think that one thing that we in their health. It's shocking to have 5 by. So one thing that we can't.
Got one question. And I don't, just came to me, looking at the renewal comparison, and I'm talking mainly about the pharmacy part of it. The Wayne is $150, we don't do comparable. So what kind of dollars have?
Big part of our sort of deductible is it's satisfied one time during the year, beginning of the year. Medication takes $50. A good example would be around 2 for 30 in your so what would apply first under this deductible would be the first $100 and once fied copay, and then they would receive the medication. It's once during, and it's there as utilization. Flat out, it is a cost shift to your employees in their, but it's achieved cost that the premiums that employees pay as well. The fairness aspect of it is it targets those that are using the medications. And you've got a 30% trend this year, 23% last year. It's directed at the problem low health plan, which
The 100 does that have on? Okay, that's what I was.
You say 30%, 23%.
It can't do. Well, let me ask this. Deductible now, is that the family?
a 3-time limit, correction, 2 families.
So that would be 300.
That's correct.
Okay, I want to make sure everybody understands that. So the individual employee has to, family, 300, they're good. If you have 5 kids, it's not 150 for each one. Okay.
Well, I was know that, I mean, look who's in taxis.
So maybe you.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner.
Better than medical.
Commissioner.
Didn't ask me.
Okay, well, I'm coming back to you because I know that you've got a motion to make. Okay. Mr. Wood?
I think we're good. Has everybody gotten their questions answered?
So, Gerald, I get it, have a decision, because when we're coming in, there are steps that we have to do, such as obtaining the summary of benefits and coverage, which takes time. Have a decision better. So I will encourage you, if you can make a decision today on the HR and the community, so that we can, and the education out to the.
Gonna be out of date 2 weeks. We can, yes, sir. Okay.
Motion to table our decision on medical insurance annual review until our next meeting in April. Give everyone time to digest information and some more information, I think.
Yeah, we clarified what y'all that we got to your or so, but this is, again, that everybody was looking for.
I want to know, with the two departments that we've already made the pay adjustments on or realignments, on how much that's costing for those increases. And it's close. What, if we go with, I'm just gonna say option 3, how much is that gonna cost for a number in those two departments?
Okay, and we'll have to make some assumptions like we did.
I know that, I know, you can't get right.
Yeah, okay.
Let me say that it all depends on the employees that they have. I mean, if you got an employee that in fact is a month, employee that's.
Well, I know, but you're gonna have to use last year's figures. I mean, you can't pull it out of the air. I mean, it's gonna be year-old numbers that you give me, but it will still give me a.
That's right.
Okay.
And we'll put in some assumptions. We'll do like we left the assumptions.
Okay.
And then we'll get you those numbers.
All right, any other information that you might need?
I just, this is the example given today. I want to make, is this typical, and is there any along these lines? I want to have only, that's my note, but we're not so enjoying that these given or.
Geraldine is, again, we can't, the only thing I can say to that depends on what, in other words, this, the illnesses they get and that sort of thing.
Well, can we do like Commissioner Luke last year, we had 15 or 20 claims. See, what's based on employees that you could give them examples of 8, 10, 12. In other words.
Well, on that, I mean, you just take this and multiply by whatever number you want to do it by.
Okay, but we still don't know their frequency and what it would cost.
It's an assumption, because we don't really have the data on their.
Okay.
It kind of goes back to that old 80-20 rule. 20% of your people are gonna use up 80% of your healthcare fund.
Okay.
But again, like we were today, how to spread these costs, you can either do it with the premium, and that hits everybody, or you can do some of what we're doing here, which is really targeting the person who uses more. And then the one below a 30% increase, we've got to spread that cost. We've got to cost shift some of that over.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
But one thing I did want to make, re-emphasize, Mark made a good point. We actually have a pretty good, if I remember correctly, we actually have a pretty good rate of using generic. So, but and with what we're adding for them to check. Because the thing I would stress is, remember, this is, if you were on a maintenance drug and the generic is $10 and the other $60 a month, that's a $600 savings. And all they got to do is ask their doctor if they got a generic for that.
Mr. Wood and Gerald, if my memory serves me correctly, he said the merit increases that we funded for this half year is about $300,000 or so.
Yeah.
And if we didn't pick the option 3 and it would cost the county $329,000. Here's Geraldine. Take Jane Smith and take this what you could, an example where she would see if Jane Smith didn't get their merit increase because we can't afford both of them, what you might get if you took this plan and was able to continue to get your merit increase versus not going to the plan we need you to switch to and not be able to get it because we couldn't fund it. Is that too convoluted?
I think we're really getting into the weeds here. I really do think we are really getting, folks, nobody likes to see some changes in benefits or premiums going up. Nobody likes to see it. We have gone through and with the help of some experts here, gone through, as an example, we went from $100,000 on our catastrophic. We went to 125, I believe.
That's correct.
So there has been a lot of tweaks on this thing to hold down the cost and spread the pain across the board as best that we could. Whether or not we're talking about the increasing of the incentives or, I think we really are getting into the weeds, but that said, is there any additional information that we need from staff for us to review over the next 2 weeks for us to come back to make this decision?
No, if that was too convoluted, I don't have anything else.
All right, well, Wayne, we'll get what you asked for.
Yeah.
The only other comment I wanted to make, really it's a question directed at Mark, but I think he's already addressed it, but I just want to remind you, this is the norm. We're going to be looking at this every single year. We're going to be going through this exercise every year because on average, we've been looking at 8 to 10% increases every year. Is that?
That's correct.
And that's the trend.
It is.
Right? So this is the norm. I just want everybody to understand, about
Get
March.
ready for it next
About
year and
March
the
of
year
every
after, the
year,
year
we'll be
after.
going through this, and we'll have Mark back up here, and we'll talk about it at that point, but, so we meet with him on staff. I think we met over the phone and personally about 3 times on this, and had him work up different scenarios, but this is the norm that we'll be going through every year.
And I also want to point out, I hope everybody's been watching the news that the private sector insurance policies have skyrocketed. I mean, they didn't go up 5%. They went up 50%. I mean, there are huge increases out there. So what we're doing here is really remarkable, that we're able to kind of hold the line and not injure the employer, which is the county.
Yeah.
And we're not injuring the employee as well.
That's right.
So I think it's a good balance. Okay.
Just figure out how we can, commissioners can get on that.
Yeah, we can't get on there. Commissioner Mayo.
Since we have an insurance expert here.
Well, let me get Commissioner Mayo first.
But I just want to reiterate, because not only is this important, but we still need to make sure, and what's bothering me is, and it is a concern, is that we have not looked at the pay for our departments. And I don't mean to keep dwelling on this, but I have just been notified that a certain department in our county has just lost 2 more employees today. I'm telling you, there's certain departments in this county that we're getting to a crisis level, and I'm just reiterating, I'm really concerned about how this will affect that situation. That's all I'm saying.
Can I address that?
But let me address that in a minute.
Yes, sir.
I don't understand if you've got a program that's the benefit, that's better than the state plan, it's better than the competition, how that in any way would motivate anyone to leave. There are some other issues in regards to losing employees. I don't think it is the health insurance.
Well, yeah, it's not, but what I'm saying is that the lack of, if they can get to another county and get the same job for $2,000 or $3,000 a year more, but the key
You're right.
is that they still are gonna be paying more out of pocket. They're gonna cost them, okay? And so what I'm saying is that we have been behind in certain areas of our pay for so many years that the employees are becoming paranoid. You know, they'll leave for 25 cents an hour nowadays, you know?
Well,
so
to address that, I mean, the point is well made, and in weighing what to recommend to you, I looked at that, and my feeling is the biggest problem we have is we still have a number of departments that are underpaid. So I would rather take the $291,000 in savings here and put that towards some of these reclassifications and get these positions up where they need to be, like we did with the deputy sheriffs, the EMS, and the jailers. So when I look at where best to spend the $291,000, I didn't come down on the side of putting it into insurance.
Right.
I come down on the side of, let me put that more into a pool for these reclassifications, because I think that's the more serious problem.
now you're making sense, because it's a selling process that we gotta do. So I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Well, and that's sort of why I was thinking about that convoluted thing that I was thinking about, Geraldine, because if a person can see how their salary either remains level or raises some versus the other side making it, that's what, that position is sort of like what mine would probably, but I always thought a $2 calculator with a percent key would almost make anything, show anything, that's what
Okay.
so I agree with what he asked.
Mr. Kamara, did you have a question?
But wait, I do have a question if you could bear with me just a second.
He's calling the question, so you go ahead and ask
Okay.
yours though.
And I picture you as maybe an independent thinker and observer. Over time, the short time that the quote-unquote Obama plan has been in place, and I think some of the comments that I hear is that the insurance premiums are escalating because of quote-unquote the Obama plan. Do you think, just as a broad thought, is it that plan or just the industry doing stuff independent of that?
I don't know that you want to answer that question.
Well, I'm good with answering the question. I have no.
Well, it is in a way.
I have no issue with that at all. The rise in healthcare is a variety of different sources. I will tell you that healthcare reform has assisted in increasing the cost of healthcare. There hasn't been a measurable reduction in healthcare because of healthcare reform, and I'll use your plan as an example of that. And let me just state, the changes that healthcare reform mandated, 100% preventive services, age 26 on children, no lifetime limits, just as an example, and then some of the taxation that goes on to health plans that your plan pays as well that can't be avoided. For the 15-16 plan year, healthcare reform has increased your cost in your plan by about 9% through a variety of benefit enhancements and taxation, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500,000 to $600,000 of additional cost. Now, employees appreciate the age 26, they appreciate the no lifetime limit, they appreciate no underwriting, no guarantee issue, they appreciate all of those things, but they were not free. So for me, which my job is really directed for y'all, to your employees, to this plan, it hasn't assisted in improving the cost of healthcare. Even though the benefits are great, that some of the things that have been put in place, but to the layperson, they don't recognize that these enhanced benefits also come with a price tag. And so I am agnostic when it comes to good, bad, or otherwise. I only speak what I know about your plan and my other clients' plans, but it hasn't lowered healthcare costs as anticipated. It has extended coverage to everyone who wants it, some of it affordable, some of it not affordable. It has done many things, but when it comes to your plan, it hasn't enhanced the competitiveness or the cost of your plan.
Did that answer your question? I hope so. Again, the motion on the floor is to table this. I do encourage everyone to get whatever information you need, because we really need to make this decision come at our next commissioners meeting. So with that in mind, if there's not any further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to table until our first meeting in April, please signify by raising your right hand. So that's a unanimous vote, so we'll make this decision on April, and any information that they may contact you on, please get it to them.
Just let us know, because I do not plan on having Mr. Browder back unless y'all indicate otherwise.
No, I don't think we would need him, I don't think we need him back for this.
You've answered a lot of questions today. It was very, very informative.
Well, and I hope y'all have seen that we feel like we've got somebody extremely good in this business looking out for us.
And Geraldine does do a good job.
She does.
I'm just kidding.
No, she does. She does a very good job.
As you can tell, Mark, we have a lot of fun.
I can see that. I'm sorry I missed lunch. I was planning on coming to lunch, but I was running behind from another appointment. Maybe next time.
I do understand everyone's concern in regards to the effect and so forth. And like I said earlier, let me emphasize, no one likes the fact of increased costs. No one likes the fact of increasing deductibles and so forth.
But there's got to be a balance here, as we just heard, where you've got $500,000 of additional benefits that are mandated. And agree that they're good benefits, but somebody's got to pay for it. Somebody's got to pay for it. That said, is there any further business to come before the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes.
Before I make my motion to adjourn, I want to say this. I got that call when you went to the hospital about being ill.
Uh-huh.
And we'll put a little humor in this. And they was telling me how serious your illness was. And I thought about it. I said, suppose he'd been sitting next to me and I had that tape down.
Oh, that was a private joke. I used to sit down here my first year, and John turned around and took some tape, and he put it down there, and he said, now there's the line. Don't you take any of your stuff and put it on mine.
And just to add to that, I had to mediate that tape movie. I had to get rid of that.
Being no further business, we are adjourned.